It's the second morning after Ghana went to the polls, and many have described it in several ways, whether it's a bloodbath, a typhoon, or whatever it is, whatever you call it. Some say it's a greenwashing in the country, and our map is already shaping up, and the boys have taken you through that. And we're hoping that we would not go past that 48-hour target, or is it the 72 hours that the Electoral Commission is giving us? We are still waiting for that presidential result. In between that, a number of things have happened. The mighty indeed have fallen, and we've been talking about it, and we have the results still on. We had 181 constituencies out of 276 so far, and we know that what we have, the NDC has 136 with the NPP 45, and of course the results are still trickling in from the constituencies, the regional collation centers, and the EC is still receiving a result. Some have described it as painfully. They are receiving those results from the regional collation centers. Then we can get that declaration of the presidential results, even though there's been concession and congratulatory messages already to the president-elect, John Dramani Mahama. But we're still watching. But it's a good time for me to take you to the Electoral Commission headquarters. That's the National Collation Center. And my colleagues, Israeli and Elton John Brobe, have been on standby the whole day, waiting, in fact, since the opening of polls, checking on when exactly we'll be able to get that. We've been hearing from Jean Mensah also on this, where we'll be going to the Electoral Commission headquarters now. Elton Brobe has been on standby. Elton, what's the situation? At the last check, we knew that it was only a half-full result that the fax machine finally received. How many do we have now?
Right, MFA. So the last time the EC updated us was around 10 p.m. yesterday, and the updates suggested that the following regions had brought in their certified results for the presidential elections. That is the Western region, the Northern region, the Bono region, the Upper East region, Savannah region. Let me go over again. So the regions that are yet to bring in their results are the Western region, the Northern region, the Bono region, Upper East region, Savannah region, Ashanti region, and the Greater Accra region. These are the regions that are yet to file in the results of the presidential elections. So far, the regions that have brought in their presidential election results include the Ahafo region, the Central region, Oti region, Western North region, Northeast region, Bono East region, Upper West region, Eastern region, and Volta region. So these are the regions that have filed in the results of the presidential election. Let me go over again. Ahafo, Central, Oti, Western North, Northeast, Bono East, Upper West region, Eastern region, and Volta region. So that will be 9. Now, according to the EC, around 10 p.m., out of the 9 regions that had come in, only 4 had been certified by the political party agents for publication, if you like. And we're still, as at 10 p.m., we're still waiting for the Western region, the Northern region, the Bono region, the Upper East region, Savannah region, Ashanti region, and Greater Accra region to come. It's unclear whether these regions have come in. As you can see, the room is virtually empty. This is the National Collation Center, with the exception of some few media personnel and technical officers who are helping with the setup here. The room is virtually empty. Even the Electoral Commission officers themselves have left the National Collation Center. I'm sure that they are in their offices and waiting for the other results to come in. Even as you can see from the shot, the fax machines that are dedicated for each region, you don't have the officers manning it. Because the last update that came was around 10 p.m. and we were told to wait for a news conference, but that news conference has yet to come on. The political party agents who were here to also scrutinize the results from the regions also left around between 9 and 10 p.m. Some suggesting that they will be coming in the morning to verify the results that are expected. So here is a virtually empty National Collation Center. I updated you on the list of regions that are yet to come in, and that update was around 10 p.m. yesterday. It's almost 3 a.m. Monday morning. I am certain that more results have come in, but the Electoral Commission officers are yet to come in and then take us through them. What I'm picking is that any news conference or announcement may come in early morning, let's say around 7, 8 a.m., and hopefully the final declaration will be done by the Electoral Commission. So for now, as at 10 p.m., we were told that 7 more regions were yet to come in, and that is the update I can give for now.
Okay, well, so Elton, it's interesting that it's an empty room as we speak, but I would want us to actually go through what you have. You've told us about 9 that have come in and that 4 have been certified. The rest are yet to be certified. You talk about those that are yet to come in, which is the Western, Northern, Bono region, Upper East, Savannah, Ashanti, and Accra. Now let's talk about the ones that are in once again. Then we'll talk a bit more about it. So we have Ahafo.
Right, so the ones that are in so far, yes, Ahafo, the Central region, the Oti region, the Western North, Northeast, Bono East, Upper West region, Eastern region, and the Volta regions. These are the regions that have filed in the results of the presidential elections. And out of these regions, according to the Electoral Commission, as at 10 p.m. last night, 4 of them had been certified by the political party. And in fact, I heard comments like, we have nothing to complain about, so there's no need to wait for us to certify before you can go ahead and declare. The EC itself had made it clear that the refusal of the political parties will not invalidate the outcome of the result from the regions. So there's no contestation. In fact, I'm yet to come across any protestation from any of the political, but they appear to be okay with whatever came in. And so when they were leaving with the assurance that they will come in the morning, they made it clear that they had nothing to complain about, and for that the EC should go ahead and declare the outcome of the results.
Okay, well, so it does look like the agents themselves are all aligned on this. But as we speak, you've told me about the fax machines. I've seen all 16 fax machines. Really, more like they're very idle. So it does appear that as we speak, between now and the 7 a.m. that you're expecting the EC to give us the next address, we are not expecting any fax to come through. Is that the case?
Well, even should there be a fax to come in, there's actually no official of the Electoral Commission here, but they are in their offices, I'm sure, monitoring whatever is happening across the country. Usually, you will find them you find them congregate around a fax machine, and that will tell you that something is coming in. So when we were given the update around 10 p.m., we were told that these had come in, and that's the 9 that I went through with you.
Okay, but generally,
and
though,
from that time up to now, in fact, I ran, yes.
I was asking generally how the process has been. I can tell how painful it's been, but maybe you can walk us through a bit of how the day has been since Madam Jean Mensah addressed the press in response to the NDC's pressure for her to actually release the results. Since then, let's talk about how the process has been. Maybe walk us through it as you witnessed it.
Well, the Electoral Commission, you remember the political parties themselves undertook their own collation, and some before midnight of Sunday, December 8th, the NDC and the NPP, they had done their own collation and were clear in their minds regarding the direction of the elections. But for the Electoral Commission, they insist on going through the laid down process to get the results, especially for the presidential elections, because the chairperson is a returning officer. And so they are using this fax machine. Now, the process is such that when the provisional and the certified results are signed by all the political parties at the regional level, the result is sent via fax, and it is received here at the National Collation Center. And then when it is received, the EC officials dedicated to each fax machine will announce the region. After that, the provisional and the certified results are given to the political parties to verify. So most of them came with their own computers. I'm sure they came with their own figures. So they cross-checked the figures that came through from the region with what was or is available to them. And then they endorse it. After the endorsement, the result is given to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, and then she also endorsed it, after which the EC official projected it on a giant screen that is here at the National Collation Center. They do so with the provisional and the certified results, so that the entire country can look at the figures for the provisional and the certified results, and then that will conclude the exercise for that particular region. And then the same is given attention through the same process by the regions that are also here. So this is how tiring the entire process is. I'm sure in the minds of the Electoral Commission officials, especially at the very top, they are fully aware of the figures that happened in the regions. But because this is the process they want to go, they are not deviating from it. They are not sidestepping it. The chairperson at the last news conference made it clear that even though she's aware of the demands on her, especially by the NDC, to announce the outcome of the presidential election, so that they can as well call on their supporters to leave the collation centers and remain calm, she cannot do so. She was not in a position to do so because the process is such that they had to fulfill it, because this is something that will go on record, and she was not in a position to rush through the process and then meet the demands of the political parties when the process had not ended. So this has been it, MFA, and she stood her grounds, and that's the reason why we are so here, even though it's almost 3 a.m. into Monday, and nothing more is happening except the fact that if all the results are in and it's certified the political party, that is where the chairperson, the returning officer for the presidential election, will go ahead and announce. What I'm picking is that we are likely to have the final declaration somewhere around 7 a.m. And what I'm also picking is that all the region may have come in, but the political party agents are not here, and they want to exhaust the process before coming to a finality on this matter.
Okay. We're hoping that the agents will come very soon, because I can see how tired you are and you need to get you to your bed. Elton, I'll leave it here for now. As and when we get anything coming through from the National Collation Center, I'll get back to you on it. But I hope that all the EC is actually taking care of the media, taking care of you very well. Are they? I hope you are drinking tea and without biscuits, or with biscuits.
I think that for now.
Okay.
There is always biscuits.
Okay.
There's always biscuits.
Okay, glad to know. Elton, I'll leave it here for now. I'll come back to you as and when we have anything from the EC headquarters. That's my colleague Elton Brobe. He's there with Israel Lai and the team, getting all the information that we need from the Electoral Commission headquarters for us. And as we speak, we have 9 results from the Electoral Commission, at least the presidential results. We've been giving you the MP, like the constituency results from the members of Parliament. And so far, out of the 276, Joy News, your election headquarters is giving you 181 of them, even though the NDC is projecting that they have 185. But we will also go through that painful process to bring you the results from the regional collation centers, the constituencies, and of course, the polling station results that we have that's being collated, certified results. That's what we are bringing you. And it's there on your screens as and when it's coming in. And of course, the map is also being populated, and subsequently we'll take you through them, what we have, who the casualties are, and of course many of you know who was falling and who is in and who is out. And you can see that green population already. It's a green Ghana already, and we can see the dotted blue in there. And as and when it fills up, we'll get to it takes shape properly, you get to know which regions are falling and which ones are still intact for the NPP or the NDC. But of course, so far, we know that inherently blue constituencies have already turned green, and many of you already talking about it. The last one that we had in terms of the declaration of results was at Dom Kwabenya. If you just woke up, that has also fallen, is gone green for the NDC. That seat inherently has been a blue seat for the NPP. Now it's no longer blue, it's gone green. We're green in Ghana is how some people have described it already. But since we are talking about results that have come in, we are still waiting for 7 others from the regional collation centers. And of course, earlier, the chairman of the NDC held a press conference insisting and hoping that the EC will fast-track the process and declare the results. We had a statement also from the office of the president-elect, John Dramani Mahama, and he mentions that he would address the country or actually give us his, victory speech as and when that official declaration from the Electoral Commission is made. So that's what we are all waiting for patiently. The EC had given a target of 72 hours. 2020, they did it in 48 hours. They are hoping to beat that record again and do that. And we're told that 9 of those presidential results have already come in. But he addressed the nation earlier yesterday. I'm trying to remind myself that today is Monday, yesterday was Sunday. So she did address the nation on Sunday and asking for some time and patience, and also asking supporters who have besieged collation centers or the regional collation centers to beat a retreat so that they can speed up the process. And my colleague Elton Bobi has given us update on this, and at least we know that they've received 9 of the presidential results from the various regions, and we have 7 more to go. And hopefully he tells us that by 8 a.m. This morning, I was going to say tomorrow, this morning, we should have that declaration that we are all waiting for so we can return to our lives. But this election is giving us a number of firsts that we've been talking about, apart from the fact that it quite may be this election could be the one that has given us the lowest turnout so far. And that's how it's been described. But we'll get to hear from the Electoral Commission on this in terms of the turnout for this 2024 elections. We also know that this particular election has been giving us a president-elect, or should I say the person that is supposed to be the president. And that 24 hours, that follows that first concession speech also under 24 hours after a poll here in this country. And we've also had traditionally blue seats all turning green. Some have said dark green as well. We've also had it more like leaving the EC behind because they have to go through due process. And we're seeing also that we're getting a comeback of a former president. Also, at least this is the very first. We're also seeing that. And then a first female vice president. So it's more like a lot of firsts in this particular 2024 elections. And as we speak, we have 187 out of the 276 seats so far. That's on your screen. That's what we have. We have 89 more to go, still populating the map. 120 days social contract that we have it. And a number of things, he says, that they will be doing, at least that's the document that the party has put out. First, to nominate within the first 14 days the complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval. We've heard him say that he would do just about 60 ministers, and that he's not going to run a huge government. It's going to be a very small government. We're told just about 60 of them. The second thing we're hoping to undertake in the first 120 days in that social contract is constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. The leanest and efficient government under the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. Also establish a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials. This way of dealing or tackling corruption. And we heard him on the campaign trail, also in the party's manifesto, dealing with this, and then also hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. So these are the first 4 things that President John Dramani Mahama is hoping to undertake in the first 120 days in government, in that social contract that he has. The 5th thing will be that within the first 90 days in office, he will scrap the following draconian taxes to alleviate hardships and ease the high cost of doing business. The first one is the e-levy, the COVID levy, the 10% levy on bet winnings, which many say led to that victory for John Dumelo in Ayawaso West Wogon, especially amongst the students. So this is one particular tax that many of the youth are looking forward to, that it will be abolished. And we've seen a lot of talk on social media, especially on X, on this particular betting tax, the 10% levy on bet winnings. We call it the betting tax. And then also the other levy that he's hoping to abolish will be the emissions levy. And all this, he says, will be done in the first 90 days in office. And within the first 90 days also in office, he'll get to review taxes and levies on vehicles and then equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. So this is about the 6th thing on that social contract for 120 days for John Dramani Mahama. Also to commence drafting the needed legal amendment and prepare for implementing the 24-hour economy policy under the office of the president. There's no particular timeline given to that. In the last interview that he granted the BBC, he mentioned that is not an event. Of course, it's a process. So they're going to do it within a period, but no timeline is given for that. But they've told us that it's supposed to be within the 120 days. Unlike the levies, which was giving 90 days, this will be within the 120 days where the drafting of the needed legal amendment, and they will be preparing that implementing document for the 24-hour economy policy, and it will be under the office of the president. Then the 8th item in that particular social contract will be establishing an accelerated export development council, that's the AEDC, to promote export as part of a broader strategy for economic transformation. And that's in that social contract. And also to convene a national consultative conference on education to build consensus on needed improvements to the sector. And definitely that would include the free SHS, would it? That's a key question when it comes to this particular social contract, convening a national consultative conference on education to build consensus on needed improvement to the education sector. Then we are going to look at implementing the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions, universities, colleges of education, nursing training institutions, amongst others. So that's the 10th item in that particular social contract. Apart from that consultative forum or conference on education, they are also going to implement the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions, universities, colleges of education, nursing training institutions. And then also they are going to be tackling the introduction of the following. That's the social interventions, the introduction of a number of them. That includes the free tertiary education for persons with disabilities. Then the Ghana Medical Care Trust, the Mahama Care Fund. That's the 11th item. Introduction of the free tertiary education for persons with disabilities. Then the Ghana Medical Care Trust, Mahama Care Fund. That's the next. And then they will commence the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. Was one of the key promises also for them. And then that will be done in the first 120 days. That's the social contracts they've put out, which is titled Resetting Ghana. Then the 13th thing that they're hoping to do will be instituting enquiries and or forensic audits into the following matters of public interest. I'll go through them. The collapse of indigenous Ghanaian banks and financial institutions at a supposed cost of 25 billion Ghana cedis. That's the first thing they're hoping to look into. under the social contract in the first 120 days. That collapse of indigenous Ghanaian banks and financial institutions prior to the elections or during the campaigning, I'm sure you heard a lot of former staff of GN Bank, for instance, demonstrating across the country, hoping that something will be done about their situation. The promise was given also by the former president, now president in waiting, and also illegal printing of money. That's something they say they'll be looking into. Also, the $58 million National Cathedral scandal. That's something that will be looked into also in the first 120 days under the social contract for the Mahama government. And also the illegal and inflated single source contracts. They say they'll be looking into all those contracts. Inflated single source contracts is how they described it. And then the COVID-19 expenditure, they say it's a scandal. They'll be looking into it as well. PDS is high on the agenda in the first 120 days. They'll be taking a look at Ejapa. Also, they say they'll be looking at SML, the ambulance spare parts deal that we talked about as well. They'll be looking into it. The 13th African Games, they say they will be instituting forensic audits to take a look at it, plus some inquiries where necessary. And then they'll be taking a look at the Sky Train. There was a promise for that to happen. They said they'll be looking into it. The Pualugu Dam, the construction of the Pualugu Dam, some contractual agreement were made, monies exchanged hands, and we're told it was just for the groundworks. Also, the math sets under the Ministry of Education, it will be looked into. They say Galamsey fraud will be taking a look at. Missing excavators will be looked at, and of course, the missing excavators and tricycles as well. And guess what? The Sputnik V vaccines also will be looked into. You know, it became a big issue. It was a subject of parliamentary inquiry after that expose, and they say they will be looking into that in the first 120 days. The Bost scandal will also be looked into, and these are but a few issues or scandals that they are hoping to look into, and that includes the National Cathedral, also the Sputnik V, the Bost scandal, the spare parts deal, Ejapa, SML, PDS, COVID-19 expenditure. These are some issues that they'll be looking into, or the scandals and the controversy that they'll be looking into in the first 120 days. Also, they will institute a government policy banning political appointees from purchasing state assets within the first 120 days. Then they will allocate seed money for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank, which was a key campaign promise for John Dramani Mahama. They will then launch the following priority job creation programs in the first budget. A Jumara program, the National Apprenticeship Program, and 1 million coders program will also be tackled in the first 120 days according to their own social contract. Then they will commence the review of the Customs Amendment Act 2020 to scrap the law banning the importation of salvaged vehicles to rescue the local automotive industry at Swami Magazine, Kokompe, Abosokai, among others. So they will commence a review of the Customs Amendment Act 2020 to scrap the law banning the importation of salvaged vehicles to rescue the local automotive industry at Swami Magazine, Kokompe, and Abosokai, and several others. They will also lay before Parliament a new bill to streamline government scholarship administration, prohibit political appointees from accessing government scholarships, and eliminate political patronage. They say they are going to do away with cronyism, nepotism, and corruption in awarding government scholarships. That's item 18. Don't forget it. Also, 19, ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves. We're tackling illegal mining, Galamsey, and they are banning illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves. You know, there was a push by Labour Media Coalition against illegal mining for this particular act to be undertaken, and also the repealing of the LI, which did not happen, but Parliament is resuming on the 16th of December. Hopefully, that may happen, is yet to be known or yet to be seen. But the social contract also goes on to say they will roll out the Tree for Life and Blue Water Initiative to heal and sustainably harness the environment by turning areas and water bodies degraded by illegal mining into economic and ecological recovery hubs. That's item 19. Item 20 is to launch the Black Star Experience initiative as Ghana's flagship culture, arts and tourism brand to transform Ghana into a preferred tourism destination. That's social contract number 20. Then number 21 is to commence investigative processes to purge state security agencies of all militia and vigilante elements. Item 21. Then also I go on, it also talks about reopening investigations into major unresolved criminal cases, including the 2020 election killings, where we saw about some 8 persons losing their lives in Techiman South. There was no logical conclusion to it. They say they are going to reopen investigations. And then the Ayawaso West Wargon by-election violence. There was a commission of inquiry that was instituted, a white paper issued, but we're yet to know what exactly. Some portions of it, of course, was not, executed conclusively. The NDC government says they are going to reopen it. Also, the murder of Ahmed Hussein Swale and then also Silas Wulakame. They are also going to take a look at it and then initiate a probe into the man-made disaster caused by the VRA spillage from the Akonsombo and Bone dams that displaced and destroyed the livelihoods of thousands of citizens in the Volta region, especially in the eastern region and the parts of the Greater Accra region. And then they will initiate immediate steps to compensate the flood victims, including those in the Oti region, the Bono East region, and Savannah regions as well. And then carry out a shake-up of all loss-making SOEs and realign them to break even and transition them into profit-making. So that's the social contract of the Mahama first 120 days in government and is resetting Ghana. And these will be done, some of them within 90 days, others within the 120 days, including formulating policy for the 24-hour economy, and then also nominating within the first 14 days, once he takes over or is sworn in, a complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval. And it reminds us in that contract that they will constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. Once it's a contract, the people of Ghana will definitely have to hold them to account for it. But all that can be done after the official declaration of the results by the Electoral Commission, the presidential results by the returning officer for that election, Jean Mensah, that's the commissioner of the Electoral Commission. And we have 196 results, parliamentary results, out of the 276. And from what we know so far, the NDC has 147, the NPP 48. And we have a lot more to go. And I must remind you, if you're just waking up, I'm sure before you went to bed, you recall that the EC chairperson had mentioned that at the last count, because of the process that the results would have to go through from the polling station to the constituency, then to the regional level, many have criticized that three-step approach, including the regional collation center, which would then have to fax that regional collation for the presidential to the national collation center, which we used to call the strong room. Now the election headquarters here owns that strong room. So before they will get it, but he mentioned that they only had a handful at the last count. But I have news for you. We have more than a handful at the National Collation Center of the Electoral Commission. At the last count, on the checks with my colleague Elton Brobe, who is still at the National Collation Center of the Electoral Commission, 9 results or 9 regions have come through that fax, the 16 fax machines at the Electoral Commission headquarters. 9 results have come through. 4 of them, we're told, have already been certified. So Ahafo is in, which you knew already before you went to bed. We have the Central region also in now. The OT region also has come through. And the Western North region has also come through. Northeast is also at the Electoral Commission's office. The Upper West region has also come through. Volta region, Eastern, Bono East, they've all come through now as we speak at the Electoral Commission. But we have 7 more to go, which is the Western region. We have the Northern region to go, Bono region, the Upper East region to go, Savannah region, Ashanti region, and of course, the Greater Accra region yet to come through. A number of constituencies and results are still in contention in some constituencies that we've been talking about. But as we speak, that green bath continues and the map is still forming nicely. By close of day, or maybe just before the declaration, we should have all that for you. 196 out of 276. And of course, the major casualties are still nursing their wounds. And I'm sure that by when they wake up this morning, the dust may have settled and it must have sunk in for them. Then we can hear from the losers and the winners throughout the day till we get the declaration of the presidential results. But here on your election headquarters, just before the opening of polls, we had the election eve, and of course, we interacted with the UN Special Representative, Mr. Santos, that joined us here in the studios. I think he had a lot of confidence in this particular process, even though we've recorded some deaths, at least we've reported about 2 or so, and then injuries that were recorded, some gunshots. There have been disruption of collations at the regional levels. There have been youth clashing, supporters clashing, amongst others. But generally, they've mentioned that it's been a smooth process and Ghana is better for it. But the casualties remain. We can hear him when he interacted with us here on your election headquarters before we went to the polls and his level of confidence. Election that we're about to head to tomorrow for the larger African stability in the West African region and our democracy, you would say.
Thank you. Well, each election is unique. It has special characteristics which have to be taken into account. Ghana has an important role to play, and not only in the region, West Africa, but also in the rest of Africa. So everyone is watching Ghana and to see how they are going to behave in the process. Elections are always a complex matter with the very important emotional component. So what is important is to control elections and to abide by the rules. And what is going to happen in a positive sense in Ghana will inspire other countries to overcome the difficulties they have also. Yeah. So I think the outcome of the election is important for the rest of the continent.
Well, you have a lot of ears and eyes in places that we may not have. But prior to this and leading to this, I would want to know what lessons other countries can draw. But before I come to that, what kinds of vibe, what kinds of information are you picking in the lead up to this polls, from all the way from the campaigning up onto where we are today, till the ballots or the last ballot is counted, till we declare an election in Ghana?
But we interacted with the national electoral management institutions, from the Electoral Commission, the Inspector General of the Police, the Judiciary, but also we participated in 5 regional gatherings on the leading to the elections under the auspice of the National Peace Council. And we think that the country is well prepared for the elections. The level of debate, the openness of the debate in each one of these gatherings we participated in was very much reassuring, and that people are putting forward their doubts, their concerns, and these interactions among institutions concerned with the elections was very positive indeed. So we think that all in all, all these exercises, and in other gatherings will take place, prepare the country for the elections.
Okay. Would you say is a tense atmosphere?
Tense atmosphere is normal to happen in elections. So adrenaline is part of the elections. So it's normal to happen. But people should not be carried away by adrenaline. They have to control themselves and behave by the rules of the game.
In all this, we still pride ourselves in the kind of democracy we practice and the stability and the peace that we enjoy in this country. Most people have said that we need to protect it. But what would you say are the lessons that other countries can draw from Ghana's democratic stability, for instance?
What I think it's a lesson to inspire other countries is your capacity to learn from election to election and to improve the performance of the institutions. What I felt in my interaction with different institutions is that openness to listen and to learn and to improve. Because sometimes institutions, they close themselves. They take a more defensive attitude. And they say, well, we are doing things, we know what we are doing, and so forth. They're not open to listen. What I found across the board here is that institutions, particularly public institutions, are open to listen.
I'm hoping that I could take you to the kitchen to get the key ingredients that will make up for a peaceful election. What are the key things that you say that we need to put together to be able to get that peaceful election that you were looking for, at least, that the whole world is looking at Ghana for? What are you hoping that will be? Well,
first is the assurance of the institutions that they are going to do their work according to the rules. And secondly, that the citizens, they know the basic rules of it. I'm not talking about the more complex aspects of the law, but the basic rules guiding elections. So if on one hand, the behavior of the institutions are giving that assurance to the population, to the voters, that they are following the appropriate procedures. On the other hand, that people understand what their obligations are. I think this combined together will deliver peaceful elections.
So these key stakeholders that we talk about, at least you've mentioned how you've interacted with the Electoral Commission, and we know that government in itself, at least the ruling government, they have a key role to play in terms of the presidency. We know about the political parties themselves, civil society organization, and of course the media. As we speak, in terms of these key stakeholders, what exactly would you say are the specific roles that you're expecting for them to play, such that when it all comes together, you will get that results that you're looking for?
Well, starting with the government has the responsibility to create the basic conditions, material conditions, technical conditions, financial conditions for the elections, so that institutions, different institutions, can have the ways and means necessary to play their role. Civil society organizations are to congregate citizens and educate them on them, to bridge between the government and the voters. So civil society organizations have an important role to play. The media, you have a key role because you help to create the necessary atmosphere for peaceful elections. So the ethics guiding media also is key for the success of the elections. Security forces, they have a specific role to make sure that the behavior of the citizens are according to the law. And the judiciary has the main responsibility of playing decisions about if aspects of, or if some of the participants of the elections are not happy with that, so they table their grievances to the judiciary. So different institutions have played different roles, but it's like an orchestra, different players, but the end result is harmony in
that
society.
Great harmony that we are looking for. But if you were to rate at least all the key institutions you've talked about, from the media, the political parties themselves, all those key stakeholders that you're hoping to give you that beautiful harmony that you're looking for, if you were to rate their roles so far, or your assessment of what their contributions have been, What would you say it will be?
In our interactions, first in all of them, found a very high level of commitment to peaceful elections, to give their contribution individually per institution for peaceful election. And the second aspect to mention is that their technical capacity to deal with the electoral process also is very high indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way they master the technical aspects of their under their responsibility. So I think the combination is quite high indeed.
But you know. And that's our interaction earlier with Honorable or His Excellency Leonard Santos Simao there on election brief. That was his expectations ahead of the elections. And I must say that we have news. Thankfully, we are 200 out of 276 constituencies. Our map is fully shaped, and I'm sure that Studio 995, Eugene Oseitu, will take us through what we have so far, but I'm sure he is with David Akwete, who is ready, also on standby. David, how are you doing? I'm sure it's been a short night for you, but I'm sure you're in high spirits already for today, and the race to the declaration is on. Whilst you were taking that quick nap, though, I must tell you, Elton gave us information from the EC National Collation Center that we have 9 results that has come through now. So hopefully, before you finish, maybe we'll get that declaration. But I'm sure you're all set for today. Come through now.
Yes, we are all set for today. And MF, I describe this as the final lap of the 2024 election coverage.
Yeah.
That's the final lap.
We're almost
there. And in a few hours from now, I'm sure that the results will be available, and we can now take some rest.
Yeah, we're almost there.
You yourself, you sound tired.
It's all
you
gone.
Tired.
It's
so
not me tired. It's just the voice. The voice just giving up on me at this point. So I'll just take that quick nap as well, so that you take it over from Studio 995 in Kumasi. Let's meet in Osei Krom soon. Over to you, David.
Most definitely. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, MF Apal there. And of course, we are here at Studio 995 Kumasi. And before I introduce to you my co-anchor, I'd like to first of all introduce to you my guest for this very session. I have Dr. Ali Nyaba. He is with the History and Political Studies Department, KU University. Also with us this morning is Professor Martin Akwete. He's a rector for the Valley View University. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And to you, Eugene, my co-anchor, how are you doing?
David, it's tiring, but we are here.
Yes, indeed, we are. Now, I'm sure that most people are waking up this morning with anticipation of whether we have some new results to share, with them. And so what do we have for our viewers currently in terms of some of the regions? If you don't mind, let's start with the Ashanti region. What are some of the new results that have come in that we can share with our viewers and, of course, our audience?
Well, David, so when you come to the smart world, you can clearly see that the results are not trickling in. For multimedia, we have 200 certified results now. So if I take you to the Ashanti region now, where a lot of activities is happening, the NDC is on the course of history, where they are likely to get more than the 5 seats. That's the most that they've had in the Ashanti region in its history. They are now doing about 7 of them. I can confirm to you that the NDC has maintained the Edrese Dumasi seat. Is yet to get to a smart world, but they've maintained the seat. Hajia Nasira Afra, also in the Central Farm Plains area, has maintained the seat for the NDC. Also, Honorable Salam has also maintained the seat in Niwa Dubiase. But David, there seem to be some tectonic shifts at the Adanse enclave, where the NDC for the first time is winning the Accra constituency. Now, let me just do some trend analysis for you in the Accra area. That's why I talk about the first time. So meaning that since the constituency came to the being in 2004, it's been predominantly won by the NPP. But per the results coming in 2024, the NDC has flipped the Accra constituency, and that is quite historic. Something is happening in Adanse, and I will later tell you why I'm saying that. So when you look at the 2024 numbers we are picking up, the NDC candidate Joseph Azuma gathered some 9,215 votes as against Alex Blankson, who is the current member of parliament for the area, 8,899. So you can clearly see that the difference is just about 216. 260. So it will be an interesting seat to watch in 2028. We are not there yet, so let's continue with the 2024 analysis. So that is for the Accra constituency. Now, David, I can also say that the Adansia Sokwa seat has been lost by the NPP, and Katie Yamon will not be returning to Parliament. That is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the constituency since 1996. He is currently the Trade Minister, and we all know how Katie brings some fresh air to Parliament. We'll not be seeing him in Parliament again. Now, David, I can also report on the Ahafua South East, where Frederick Achi, the ESCO member of the GFA, has lost the seat. The seat was predominantly also held by the NPP in its history. Formerly, Honorable Adabo, if my memory serves me right, let me check 2020. Yes, Honorable Francis Adabo has held the seat all this while for the NPP when the constituency was created, and the NPP has lost the Ahafua South East seat. That is Edujama on the Kumasi Sunyane enclave. They also report that the Ahafua North and the Ahafua Southwest, which is Tepa and Mankranso, respectively, is also keenly contested by the NDC, and they feel that they are very confident they will win this seat. So, David, you can clearly see that there are some changes happening. Let me take my pen. You can clearly see that there are some changes happening in this area of the Ashanti region and also this area. We are yet to confirm the results from Obuasi East, but we can say that the NDC are also confident of the results coming in from Obuasi. So it tells you that the Adanse enclave in the Ashanti region and the Ahafua enclave, there seems to be some good work the NDC is doing there when it comes to the 2024 parliamentary race in the Ashanti region. Now, David, I can also confirm to you that Dr. Fred, who is the lead or the director of the Commission for Technical and TVET Education, has won the Offenso North seat for the NPP. So there's been some retainment there. Now, David, when you come to the Greater Kumasi Enclave, let me use this one and take you to Asawase. As you know, it was keenly contested between Manaf and also Honorable Muntaka of the NDC. And you can see Asawase here, very small. Let me open my map and take you to the Asawase constituency. Now, David, when you go to the Asawase constituency, I can report to you that the former minority chief whip of the NDC, Muntaka Mubarak, who came on the scene in 2005, has comfortably maintained the seat for the NDC. Let's not forget that in 2020, the difference between Ali Duseidu and Muntaka Mubarak was over 20,000. And so you can see that in 2020, Mubarak Muntaka garnered some 51,659, whilst Ali Duseidu, who was then the MC for the area, garnered 31,256. So we can clearly see that Manaf did quite well. He called back some 10,000 votes for the NPP, and now the difference between himself and Honorable Muntaka is 10,000. But David, interesting, look at the turnout. So in 2020, the turnout in the Asawase constituency was 82.3%. That is resounded, meaning that 8 out of 10 registered voters in the Asawase constituency actually turn out to vote. But sharply in 2024, you can clearly see that the turnout reduced by almost 16 percentage points to 67%. So that clearly feeds into the narrative that it's likely that we are recording a lower turnout in the Ashanti region. The record as we have it was 2005, 85%. Then 2020, the record is 83% compared to the national average of 79%, while Ashanti did 4 percentage points more. So if you're recording 67% of turnout in Ashanti, that's pretty worrying. Now let's look at the trends. So clearly, it's a dominating environment for the NDC, and Muntaka has ensured that happened. Now, I would like to know the difference in the presidential because of history. And David, when I take you there, you understand why I'm going there. Now, let's do this. In 2020, when you compare that of John Dramani Mahama and also so 2020 presidential, John Dramani Mahama and President Akufo-Addo, the difference between them was 12,000, meaning that Muntaka performed relatively better, 8,000 votes more than his presidential candidate. Now, when you go back to 2024 and try to get the contest between John Dramani Mahama and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the difference, right? So 2740, so this will be 3 making 30,000, so 17,000. So meaning that Mahama's fortunes in Asawase has increased, and he's now increasing his fortune more than his parliamentary candidate. And that confirms what I talk about, the formidability of Manaf Ibrahim in Asawase.
I'll come back to you shortly, Eugene, for us to visit other regions, especially the Greater Accra region, because some mighty members of parliament we know have fallen. I mean, Oslo is gone. Henry Quarte gone, and a few others
Yeah,
gone
but
in
David,
Accra
before
as
you
well.
go, let me take you to that Chimampunya. It's a very interesting dynamic that we are reporting in the 24. You know, initially, Chimampunya was part of the constituencies we've listed to analyze
As
because of
key
key
constituencies,
constituency. Now, David, I told you about the gentleman Stephen Yabua, and the momentum is gathered. He is a former DC for the area from 2013 to 2016. And Seth Akoto was a new candidate, the father being Bafo Akoto, key in the NPP politics. And his brother is a former MP for Kwadaso and Agric Ministry. Now, David, look at the trends in Chimampunya. This is a typical NPP area from the days of Honorable Efri. You can clearly see the NPP comfortably wins it. Now, in 2024, the difference between the new candidate, Honorable Seth Akoto, who is now the elected member of parliament, and also Stephen Yabua, has been reduced to just about 1,000. So it clearly tells you something is happening in this constituency the MPP must pay attention to.
And we'll keep an eye on that as well. But let me come to you, Dr. Ali Nyaba. Set us the ball rolling for us. I mean, some key members of parliament have lost their seats, including Katie Hammond and Adansi Asokwa. Does that come to you as a surprise?
Very, very. Especially the experience that Katie Hammond has garnered over the period. And then the demographics in that constituency, how popular he has become, not just for the region and the constituency, but in national politics. For him to lose the seat for the first time, yeah, it's quite surprising. But it looks like I overestimated the work that the MPP had done in terms of their parliamentary fortunes in the last elections. I thought they were very conscious of their inability to fill up certain holes, and then had decided to consciously do that. So the NDC have managed to take advantage of their lapses to flip so many seats, and the Ashanti region is particularly baffling because the number is very much unexpected. The best I expected for the NDC was the 4, maintaining the 4 or losing some, or if they were even going to add up, they could lose some of the 4 and then maybe add up 1 or 2 to still be around the 4 and 3-2 that they have done since they did an unusual 5 in 1996. But it looks like the trends, Eugene was talking about 7, but I foresee them doing even better
than 7.
Yeah, they could go up to 8.
In all this, would you say that the Ashanti region have failed the MPP?
I am not too surprised about the general outcome of the elections in the Ashanti region, but to lose seats is what I'm surprised. If you look at the 2 candidates, I am not too surprised because they did not have, the MPP for the first time did not have what they have had over the years that brought the Ashanti region into play, to the extent that they've always done higher than the national average. For the first time, I did not see Bamia having what it takes to bring many people out from the Ashanti region to vote 8 out of 10, like the trend had been over the period. So the Ashanti region have not surprised me as much in terms of the general outcome of the elections. But to lose some seats that have never been lost before is the new deal.
But Prof, it's not just here in the Ashanti region, is it? Because if we go to Greater Accra, for example, Dob Kwabenya, Michael Kwe Jr. has lost, it to F. Akurugu. Eslo Usu has also lost his seat. Henry Quarte has lost his. Okoboy has also lost his. What do you make of these loss of seats by some people whom we thought could easily sail through?
Well, thank you very much. I think that, as you have already mentioned, and we all can see, there is a general wind that has blown over the country. That obviously would affect those constituencies as well. Taking that apart, this issue of low turnout has also played a major role in
what we are seeing in the Ashanti region. And another factor is that the NDC has also done a lot of work in the region. So if you put or you bring all of these together, I think the effect is what we are seeing. And then it's also like sometimes it looks like some people think that as for this area, it is a no-go zone or no-go area for these people, and that can also...
You talk about wind blowing, and I'll come to Eugene shortly, so we'll look at some of the constituencies in Accra. But you talk about wind blowing, and that's how come we're seeing some changes. Now, if you look at the members of parliament results so far, realize that NDC has about 151 seats, the NPP has about 52 seats. Did you envisage that this would be the outcome so far based on the ones that we have, declared or certified? Did you see such a wide margin?
In fact, I knew that NPP was going to suffer severely during these elections, but the margin of defeat is quite higher than I expected. So for this performance, because NPP has, Ghana is suffering. There is a lot of anger, disappointment among the electorate. And that is what has shown mostly in most people deciding even not to go and vote at all. So all of this bringing them together, for me, I am not shocked at all. I am not surprised.
So, Dr. Ali, I would want to come to you with a question as to what we should expect in the 9th Parliament. Because we've lost some experienced hands. We're going to have some new entrants get into Parliament. How will that impact the works of Parliament, especially when we're going to have new ones in there? But Eugene, let me come back to you. Let's go to the smart wall. I know you still have projected Bekwai here in the Ashanti region, but when you're done with some analysis you want to do or what you want to share with us, let's go back to the Greater Accra region and David, share with us some key constituencies and how these mighty MPs fell.
Yeah, David, before we go to Greater Accra, Prof did make a point, and I want us to use the smart word to establish what to say about people generally feeling the economic impact and therefore not turning out to vote. Now, David, I am seeing a curious trend here. This is our smart word. These are the constituencies we can confirm for you. So I want us to just do a quick tour at the Ashanti region, look at the voter turnout in these constituencies. Now, when you go to Afano South, the voter turnout is 73%. When you go to Achimamponia, the voter turnout was 66.2%. When you go to Manson Edubia, which is MPP, when you look at the trend, Joseph Edu wins it comfortably for the MPP. And he's a current deputy minister for Agric. The voter turnout 53%. When you go to Bekwai, 64%. When you go to Achima Kwanoma, that is the seat held by the current deputy defense minister, also 64%. When you go to Achima Wabieja South, 65%. When you go to, this is Fija Kwabre South, that is also 66%. When you go to Fija Kwabre North, 69%. So the highest so far is Afanos at 73%. Let's keep that. When you go to Kumewu, 72%. When you go to Asante Achim Center, that is Konongo, and it's Enclave, 65%. Well, Nabu Ayimedu wins it. Then when you come to the Fijasa Sokore, 70.4%. When you go to Akrofrom, 63%. When you go to Fomena, 61%. When you go to Obuasi West, where we have Honorable Kweku Kwati, former chair of the Finance Committee of Parliament, former Deputy Minister of Finance, 63%. So, David, clearly in Ashanti region, no constituency per smart wall currently recorded even an 80% turnout. That confirms that the people
largely
in Ashanti
it was below
region
70%.
didn't turn up to vote. Now, David, when you go to the Greater Accra region, it's also been very, very interesting what is happening in the region. Now, you can clearly see that this is a green wave, as they say. The country is being painted green. Ghana is going green. There's a lot of sustainability conversation when you look at this. Now, when you go to Lejokuku, Bernard Okoboy has still lost the seat again. He couldn't topple Benjamin Nete. So the current... yes, the current health minister couldn't win the seat. Now, one of the surprising ones is Ablekuma West, where we have the current communication...
Go,
yes, let me go up.
Go.
I should go up.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Yes. So the current Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Esla Usu-Ekufo, who has been a member of Parliament for the constituency all this while. He's lost to Reverend Kweku Ado. So that is one of the shocking news we are picking from the Greater Accra region, that the current Minister for Communication, Ablekuma West, has lost the seat. Now, when you go to Okankwe North, this is Anyaso too. The MPP has been able to manage us. You know that the MP for this area was changed just after 4 years. That is, he's a doctor. He replaced the current Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Sheliayo Koboche, for the Anyaso too. But David, when you go to the Wejagbawe constituency, where we have the former CEO of the Coastal Development Authority, Jerry Gowen, there's a very curious thing that I'm noticing. You can clearly see the turnout, again, in Greater Accra, just 54%. And these turnout, let's compare. So when I'm done, I compare the turnout in the NPP areas where they are winning to the NDC areas. But before that, in the last election, the former Deputy Minister for Health, Tina Mensah, won the constituency with 46,875. Now, the NDC also garnered some 32,000. So going into 2024, the MPP comfortably had about 14,000 difference, comfortably. But when you look at 2024, Jerry couldn't pull the weight. Jerry couldn't pull the weight. Now, David, this is 54%. On the turnout, let's do another MPP constituency now. This is Trobo. And you know we used to have the Trobo Amasaman, and now it's separated Amasaman and Trobo. So MPP have also won the Trobo. It's a seat they comfortably wins because of the demography in that area. So I'm not surprised. Now, when you go to Amasaman, let me get you Amasaman. This is also to okay, so we can do Okankwe North. Okankwe North was keenly contested because the current, I think he's a Deputy Minister for Trade. She is a current Member of Parliament for Equiapim North in the Eastern region. But she decided to, leave her seat and go to the Greater Accra and contest this seat, Okankwe North, for the MPP. Now, interestingly, David Nana, the Dokuya couldn't win the seat. The NDC have maintained the seat. And also, surprisingly, when I take you to the Western region, her husband has also lost the seat for the MPP, which is a Sikado Keten. Now, David, so the voter turnout in Okankwe of 59%. But when you look at Shayo Sudoku, 59%. Sege, 68%. Ningo Prampram, Honorable Sam George, that is also 57%. So Sam George will be returning to Parliament. Now, when you go to Pong Katamanso, the NDC have also won 55.7%. So very clearly, that the story is no different.
The voter turnout has not been impressive at all. I'll come to you shortly, Eugene. So we run through the presidential results as we have them. But earlier, Dr. Ali Nyaba, I was asking that how would the new entrants going into Parliament for the 9th Parliament fare? How would that impact the works of Parliament? But before we do that, these great people that we know of who have lost their seats, will you say it's just a fluke? It's going to be a one-off thing, and that in 2028 it could flip back to them? Not necessarily to them, but to their party. Let me start off with you, Dr. Nyaba.
Yes. In most instances, when an incumbent who is very experienced and have been winning for more than 2 times and have not made an impact in the community, and you notice that the margin or the difference with which the person is winning is reducing, the party executives at the national level, regional level, and even constituency levels have to make a conscious effort to analyze the situation, and then see whether the person should go or not. Let me use Ashanti as a typical example. The last time I spoke to people on the grounds about the fortunes of Muntaka even before the recent elections, I was assured that he was likely to win the elections. But what I told them was that they should be planning an exit route for Muntaka. And even in Muntaka's case, he has been extraordinarily very impactful in the Ashanti constituency. Everybody across board acknowledges that impact he has made in Ashanti over the period. But it appears, yes, his popularity is waning, even though it's not reflecting in the margin. And you don't wait until the people become so fed up with him.
So explain that to me. When they say his popularity is waning, but yet it's not shown in the results in terms of the margin, usually, can you project that for us one more time? Yes. Because if you compare what he got in this year's elections vis-a-vis that of last year, I think he has even helped his presidential candidate to do better.
you see, yeah, he has helped. That's why you see the presidential candidate is doing better than him than the previous elections.
So in 2024, he got 57.1. Eugene, let's see 2020.
Yes, David.
2020, he did over 60%.
Right. So in 2020, the difference between Ali Desiderio and Muntaka was some 20,400. So when you look at the trends, for example, between 2016 and 2020, John Mahama increased by just 3 percentage points, but Muntaka soared by almost 10 percentage points from 53.6% to 62.3%. But when you look at the current numbers, between him and Manaf Ibrahim, 41,000, 31,000, so a difference of about 1,600 and something. But when you look at the presidential results between John Mahama and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the difference between them is about 17,000. So clearly, while the difference at the parliamentary level is 10,000, the difference at the presidential level is 17,000. So it's flipped from 2020. Yeah.
So, Doc, are you saying that in 2028, for example, Muntaka should not contest again?
Not necessarily. He hasn't gotten to that point. But I was just trying to give a generic scenario of the situation to highlight the question that you asked by saying that there should always be a plan for transition. From what you don't wait until you become very unpopular before you lose. So I just told the people that start getting young people to understudy Muntaka. Let Muntaka consciously mentor them, prepare them, and then when he is about to leave, the person just stand. You don't wait until the people become so fed up with you internally. If you look at Katie Hammond's situation, Adantaskwa, you see, it is not the elections that led to his downfall. It was the primaries. The way he won the primaries, he might not have gotten the support from his own people to help him do what the party was expecting in the constituency. So I'm talking about if you want to understand what will lead to a great person or a popular person losing his seat, you have to take it from the background, the primaries.
Okay.
So you don't wait until you become very unpopular, then you still bulldoze your way through, then you think that the people you have seemingly disregarded at that level will all of a sudden support you to garner the votes that will let you continue to stay.
Kote, I don't know whether you'd want to respond to that question I asked,
Yes,
Dr. Ali, as to whether, in 2028, some of these members of parliament who have lost their seats or their parties can, get them back. If you want to, fine. But my main question to you is, how will these new entrants get into parliament, for the 9th parliament? How will they fare? We lost some experienced hands, Katie Hammond included, Aslowusu, Harry Quarte, and co. How would our 9th parliament look like?
Okay, thank you very much once again. Regarding the question as to whether the Green will stay for a very long time, I would like to say that would mostly depend on the performance of the NDC government. If they are able to establish in the eyes and in the hearts of Ghanaians that they can do better and they can listen to Ghanaians better and they are able to perform better, I do not see any reason why, even though, yes, there could be, the margin may not be sustained as we have it now. But if they're able to perform well, we should expect that they may be staying for a while. Now, to the question as to how the new entrants would perform, you see, it's like somebody who keeps saying that I have been a president before, somebody has not been a president before. But then we all know that there is a first time for everybody. It's about the way they themselves will decide to learn very fast. There should be, of course, capacity building rolled out for them. But then they must also learn, they must take it upon themselves to understand the standing orders, the laws, and then they should learn on their own. I believe that if they are able to do that, within a very short time, they will be able to stabilize themselves over there and then move on. Yes, so I have no doubt at all that if there are people who are teachable and learnable, if I will put it so, then they will catch up.
And that's what we hope for. All right, so before we do, the presidential results and delve into what Ghanaians will be expecting of John Dramani Mahama, he's now president-elect, and find out whether he'll be able to do enough for Ghana within one term. That's what he has. Let's go into other regions and look at how the parliamentary results look like. Let's start with the Bono region. And Eugene, if you don't mind, let's do Bono 2020. Let's just have a picture as to how the Bono region looked like in 2020. And then let's then come to 2024 and see how the picture also looks like, or looks like, if it has to do with green or blue.
Yeah. Then before you go to Bono, so Prof was talking about attrition. When they did the primaries, the NPP lost 28 members of parliament, while the NDC also lost 17. So it tells you that we have new faces coming into the next parliament. Now, David, when you go to the Bono region, there's something very curious happening in the Bono region.
So for the map on our smart wall right now, is the Bono region as at 2020?
No, there's not the Bono region. There's that Danse, Asokwa, and Enclave. I'm not taking you to the Bono region. So let's go to the Bono region. So this is the Bono region. This is 2024. Now we can go back as far as 2016 and look at the formerly the Bono region. Okay, I can isolate the constituencies first. So let's do 2020. Then I do that for you. So this is the Bono region. So in 2020, this was the case. The Bono region has 12 constituencies. So in 2020, the NPP held Doma Central. Kwaku Agyeman was the one who held the seat. They held Doma East. There's a certain doctor there. Then they held the two Brekum constituencies, Brekum East. They also had Brekum West, Brekum East and West. Then they held the two constituencies in Sunyane West, which was held by the current Labour and Employment Residential Bafuewa, the Bank Royal of Insuatreman, and all that. Then we have Sunyane East, Honorable Kwesi Mayor Cheme. Then also they had the Doma East, as I said, yes, Dr. Paul Chumberima. Then they held the Doma Central, which was the seat of Kwaku Agyeman. And David, when you flip it and look at the 2024 narrative, there seems to be something interesting happening. Kwaku Agyeman has lost the seat. Now, David, the devil, they say, or the detail, they say, the devil lies in the detail. Now, when you look at Kwaku Agyeman in 2020, he performed quite decently. But when you look at the vote numbers in 2020, there was, I think, if my memory says, an independent candidate. Let me look at the candidate in the area. And you can clearly see that in Doma, which is Doma Hinkro proper, the difference was just about 8,000. 8,000, that is Godwin Subontin. So when you compare to the 2024 figure, now this gentleman has been able to topple him. So meaning that Kwaku Agyeman reduced significantly in votes, because in 2020, he garnered 28,500, and currently he is doing just about 17,000. So he lost almost 11,000 votes in 4 years. So for the first time in a long while, let's look at the trends in the area. The Doma Ahinkro seat from 2012 will be held by the NDC. That is historic in the history of Doma Ahinkro, Doma Central. Now, the NDC has also flipped the Doma West. Let me look at 2020 and see Doma West. So Doma West was held by, so they've maintained the seat in that constituency. Now, David, what is more fascinating is that when you go to Sunyane, they had two constituencies, Sunyane East and West. The West, as I told you, was held by Ignatius Bafuewa. He has lost the seat to Millicent Amankwa, who contested him in the last election. So in 2020, when the two met, for example, Ignatius Bafuewa had some 26,907, whilst Millicent, who was a newbie then, had 23,599. Now, David, when you look at the trends, this is the first time the NDC is winning the a seat in Sunyane West. Now, David, what is interesting is also that when you look at the last contest, right, there was an independent candidate, Bernard Otechi, who garnered 6,500. So that clearly explains why, when you look at the trends, for example, for the first time, Ignatius Bafuewa, or for the NPP in Sunyane, in recent time, they did less than the 50% mark in the constituency. So, David, this young lady...
Hold on, the Bono West for me. The Bono West for me.
No, Sunyani West.
Sorry, Sunyani West for me. Dr. Lenya, but you know this lady very well, Millicent, Amankwa. This is not her first time she's contesting for the seat. This time around, she's been able to flip it to her favor, and of course, for the NDC. What can you tell us about this lady?
Yeah, it's... Yeah, she was a women's commissioner for our SRC here on campus, and she told me that she was going to be a parliamentarian. At that time, it was...
She was going to contest for it?
Yeah, that she will be a parliamentarian in future.
Okay.
And I didn't know the constituency by then, but it was quite laughable because I did not expect her to go that far in her political exploits. But she mentioned the constituency. I checked its history, and then I noticed that NDC have never won it. You are a young girl trying to go into politics. You are going to this difficult terrain. But before the 2020 elections, I was in Sunyani, and then some of our master's students, who are distance students and NPP regional executives, were telling me about her exploits. They say they are very, very, very afraid of her exploits in the 2020 elections because she's made significant inroads into the hearts of people in that constituency. And I called her, congratulated her for her efforts, even if she were not going to win, her impact and the news around her. This year, I did not speak to the executives, but people within the NPP party told me that her exploits had reduced if you compare to...
Have you spoken to her after she won the seat?
No, I haven't spoken to her. I've texted her to congratulate her. You know, in the midst of these celebrations, I have not spoken to her.
Has she responded to your text message?
Yes.
She sounded excited in her response?
Yeah, she just said, thank you, Doc. We'll talk later. But sure. I am excited about it because she's made history. Okay. And then... I encouraged her to come and
do... from someone like Ignatius Bahafowa is not mean achievement.
I didn't have...
It's not mean achievement.
Yes.
He's a colossus. And when you look at Ignatius Bahafowa, so you can go as far back as... Let me take you as far back as 2008. He was there. So he's a colossus. He's a long...
And you see...
He's been there for a very long time. And he's the bankroller of infrastructure.
The football economy in the constituency is huge. It affects a lot of people.
Let's not go to the OT region, which Professor Akote has a lot of interest in. That's his constituency, or that's the region he votes in.
So Dave, let me do a little bit more of the Bono region because there are some surprises. Also, for the first time, based on the trends, the NDC has also won the other seat in Sunyani, where we have Said Mubarak, who has toppled Kwasi Ameya. Again, when you look at the trends, this is historic. It's never happened before for the NDC to win the Sunyani East seat. So for the first time in the history of Ghana's parliament, which will be the 9th parliament, if I remember, or the 10th, Doc, you can correct me, because
it's the 9th.
The 9th parliament, the two major constituencies in Sunyani will be held by the NDC. That is very, very historic. And David, actually, I'm picking a report that it's likely the NDC will win about 11 constituencies in the Bono region. And David, fun fact, Professor Jambafo, you remember the famous audio by Dr. Mahama, Professor Jambafo, when he was listing the economic management team. This is a busier seat. The NPP have comfortably maintained this seat until something happened in 2016, where Professor Jambafo won it for the very first time. Last time, then in 2020, the NDC won it with Seydou Haruna, who won it and defeated Professor Jambafo. Now, in 2024, Kwadwo Frimpong, broadcaster, wanted to take back the seat from the NDC because of its historic nature and how important it is for the NPP in Bono politics, but he was unsuccessful. Haruna Seydou has even stretched the lead there. So, David, that's the interesting news coming in from the Bono region. Now, let's go
before we do that, let's refresh our screen. Let's refresh our map. So let's get some help from our technical guys, because I'm told that there's been some updates done.
Okay.
So we need to refresh our map.
Okay.
But whilst we do that, so we get into other regions like the OT region and all that. What are you expecting of a John Mahama presidency? He's coming in this time around, a second term. He has only one term to do. What are your expectations of John Dramani Mahama? Let me start off with you, Professor Akote.
Okay. Looking at the general wind blowing, and also on the back of the kind of performance they have put up, especially himself, I would expect that Mahama will do well, maybe better than when he first came to the scene as a president, in order that he will leave some legacy of goodness in the minds of Ghanaians. He has a big opportunity to do that, to leave the scene with a very, very good report. I expect him to be so. And the pressure on him also at this moment is going to be very, very high.
All right, so let me come to you, Dr. Alinyaba. I mean, your own thoughts, what your expectations of John Dramani Mahama when he's sworn in and does his second and final term as president?
Yes, very, very, very expectant. Even more expectant than the period where he was president for the first time, because he left quite a bitter person, and then I'm sure he might have been dreaming of a second opportunity to redeem his image, because he came into the political scene with a lot of experience, and people were very expectant of him. And by his own standards, I'm talking about his own standards, because I'm talking about the expectations that people had of him. He appeared to be disappointing by the time he was exiting in 2016. And I think this is the opportunity for him to redeem the image, the expectations that Ghanaians have had for him. And he has the capacity to do so. And the outcome of this election and the general mood of the country gives a huge platform, a huge challenge, a huge energy. I expect him to stand on the energy that the youth of this country have used to change governments, to give him another chance to stand by the words that he pronounced on the various political platforms leading to these elections, and then do the things that he promised the youth and redeem his image. Because honestly, by his own standards, he was not measured up to standards by his first regime.
In the coming days, on our show, Love in the Morning, we'll be looking at some of the key things he's talked about, especially the 120 days and things that he intends to do. But before I go to Eugene, let me ask of you this question. Would you say that he overpromised during the campaign, or the promises he made during the campaign season are things that he can indeed fulfill in his second term as president?
Yes, I would say yes and no. The economy that he's inheriting makes it very, very difficult for him to have the financial wherewithal to do most of the things he has promised to do. But that is not to say that the things he has promised are undoable. It's not too difficult if he will be ingenious to look for other alternatives rather than the general trend where you have to tax people, take the money to do the thing, rely on IMF to do the things. So on one strand, you say he was very ambitious in his promises. For instance, asking that he will pay school fees of first-year students. Okay, most of the things that, let me not enumerate them to waste our times, but it is realistic. It's something that he can do if he's learned his lessons from the previous
and plans effectively.
Plan well.
Professor Kote, let me come to you before I go to Eugene. And you hear Dr. Ali, Nyaba say, for example, that the kind of economy he's inheriting. But again, we are under an IMF program. We have some guidance, we have some aid and support coming up our way. Will that help him, although the economy might not be in a good shape?
Of course, that's going to be of great help to him. But then, still talking about whether he had overpromised. I don't think so, because going through the list of things he had mentioned to achieve within the shortest possible time, I realized that some of them may not need so much money in order to do. For example, about the governance,
reducing the number of
reducing the number of
ministers,
setting up committees to probe this and that. So, looking at it carefully, some of them, or most of them, do not need so much money. But then, again, when it comes to the 24-hour economy, that is a place where I do not know. Honestly, up till now, I do not understand how feasible that is going to be, because even for the 12-hour economy, if we will put it, or 8-hour economy, we have a lot of high unemployment. So how are you going to generate the opportunities for people to be employed, to work 24 hours? So that is a Herculean promise people are going to watch a lot. Other than that, I would say that he should be focused and do those things, especially on governance and some of these things that do not need so much money. And I believe that he can take off very well from there.
I was watching an interview he granted at BBC at dawn, around 12 midnight, and he was asked a question about, the 24-hour economy. And he says it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Okay.
It's something that he's going to roll out gradually. By Eugene, you've been following our conversation. You love figures, you love numbers. From the parliamentary to the presidential conversation we're having, what are some of the numbers you'd like to explore?
Well, David, when you look at the parliamentary, basically when you go on our screen now, we say we have we have 210 of the 276. And clearly it tells you that if you are not, we may not be ready for history. The NDC may surpass, because in recent times, the highest we've had was in 2016, where the NPP had 169 seats against the NDC 106. And David, I will tell you that President John Dramani Mahama can achieve a lot of things with a supermajority in Parliament. Let's not forget, he said in 14 days, his cabinet will be ready for parliamentary approval and all that. And David, this is a legacy period for him. 4 years based on the history. When you read Manasseh's book about John Mahama, the title, The 4th John, I want to get it right. He talked about the rebirth, the reborn, something. There was a rhyme there, and it clearly tells you that Ghanaian has given him opportunity, Doc. I don't know if you remember, the 3 R's.
Yeah, the 4th John.
The 4th John, the R's.
His reign.
Yeah, reign, rejection, and rebound.
And then rebound.
Yes, reign, rejection, and rebound. So this is a rebound. And David, per the numbers you are picking up, this may even be a bigger margin than 2016. Maybe, just maybe. That tells you that the Ghanaian people have reposed a lot of confidence in him, and they expect him to do better compared to 2016. And so that's how all of us are expecting that when he comes, he will put the country on a better pedestal. The economy is at an IMF. We are now battling inflation of just about over 20%. We are battling unemployment of 14.7%. When you look at the Ghana Statistical Service data, again, our debt situation is a bit worrying. Our debt to GDP is worrying. Again, when you look at our agri sector and all that, food is high, food inflation and all that, the power became jittery at a point. Now it's stabilized, but there are reports that even on the election week, power has also been going off. Also, the issue about petrol prices, which is key. And then when you look at the drivers of our inflation and our basket, they are too large in the importation of our country, import almost everything. So when you look at the basket, these things are imported, and the exchange rate is a common denominator. Now we are doing an average about 15 to $1. Fuel is also over 15. When I was coming this dawn, I look at total at Kenton Chrono, it's 15 point something. Clearly, that is a bit of a challenge, because if the farmer in this area, right, in Bono East, grows the food, in Peru East, Peru West, Settler coming where they grow the food, if fuel is expensive and they are bringing it to Kumasi, by the time it gets to Kofo market or KJTR market, the food will be expensive. So it's very interesting how his presidency will be.
So Dr. Alinyaba, what would you say are the key things he needs to focus attention on? Let's say first 6 months, first year in office, what are the key things you think the president should be focusing on?
Yeah, you see, the very first time a political party made very audacious promises was in 2016. And if you look at the trajectory from then, the political parties have noticed that you need to be very audacious in order to convince the Ghanaian voter. So Mahama made some audacious promises that are quite realistic than maybe what we had in 2016. I would say generically, in order not to enumerate the policies one after the other, he's also learned another lesson that when you make the promises and you fail to fulfill them, the Ghanaian voter will punish you. And there are key things among the many promises that, if you ask me, I'll tell him to focus on. The first one is a lean government.
Which he has already promised, actually.
It is something that the Ghanaian voter have been concerned about, that why do we have so many people in positions that can be managed by relatively fewer people, so a lean government. And this is very challenging if you understand the dynamics of political parties. It's not as easy as we've been wanting them to do. The second one is to create opportunities for young people. So this whole thing about 24-hour economy and many of the things he's promised around the 24-hour economy is about giving job opportunities to young people. So he should be very conscious about creating job opportunities for young people through his vocational training initiatives that he promised, and then the 24-hour economy thing. The third one is that, you see, promising to pay the fees of first-year students, I did not find it necessary, but it's non-negotiable. Yeah, because it is a very straightforward thing. Have you done it or you didn't do it? And that is the reason why Nanado defied all odds, defied all the advice, and then launched the free senior high school in 2017, and that won him the 2020 elections. So some of the key things that are very direct, like getting employment for young people, and then paying the fees of the first-year students, will be determinants to judge his government after 4 years.
Let me come to you, Prof. Akote, and
Doc says reminds us of, on Love FM, we've done the surveys. The 5 key areas that they want their government to address. When you pick the NCC data, when you pick Global Info Analytics, when you pick the Afrobarometer survey, and even add the Human Development Index report done by the UNDP, you notice that there are 3-4 key things that were consistent. The economy. And under the economy, they talked about the currency, they talked about inflation and all that. They talked about jobs. Jobs featured in all these surveys. That the job, most young people felt that they didn't have jobs. There were issues about education. There were issues about health and infrastructure. So these 5 key issues, I think, should be his focus. Yeah.
But Prof. Akote, I want you to tackle this bit. For the very first time, Ghana is going to have a female vice president. Now we know that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as vice president focused attention on digitalization and all that. Our first female vice president, your expectations of her?
I think that is good for Ghana generally, especially where the world stands now. And also, it must be a good news for the gender activists. I am of the view that the person of her type she is not going to just take that position for granted. Looking at her background as a professor, educationist, and all of that, I believe she comes in with a lot of value for the current government or government to be. But then back to your issue of the question regarding the promises. You see, fortunately for John Mahama, admissions are going on now. And so he's going to escape implementing that program immediately. Therefore, this particular admission season, it will pass by him. And then I believe that by the next admission season, he might be able to at least start something. So, generally speaking, I would say that they need to focus on the economy. But then that is also the hardest. But considering the fact that we're still under the IMF and all of that, there could be some relief. I'm even aware that there are some loans that are yet to be disbursed. So this will all go to his kitty in order to help. But then let me also add this, that regarding the employment for the youth, I know it has been one of the areas that had pushed the youth to really vote for this government. What I will expect is that they need to make the system very fair to everybody, because there is currently a lot of talk about people having to pay money in order to have opportunities in the civil service. And I think this is a very, very low point we have sunk as a nation. And that if he is able to restore confidence in the public service system and then restore competition where the best will be employed, I think it will go well for him and his government.
I want you to take a bite, at our very first female, vice president.
I've always felt that it is not enough just to have a female in a position to create a balance, but the real deal is the impact that the female is able to make. If you check over the years, when it comes to the female bit, it has to do with the first ladies. And you check in this Fourth Republic from Nana Kunadu Ajiman Rawlings through Nadu, and then Kufuor's wife, Teresa, and then Nanado's wife. If you check their impacts, you will notice that from the 31st December Women's Movement thing, Nana Kunadu was able to make some impacts in a lot of females in Ghana here, and the trajectory continued, although not at that level. So I think Jane should be very conscious about the fact that she represents Ghana as a whole, but she will be judged by how she's able to bring in the other group, I'm talking about the other sex, into the general fray of things, to make them, so that we can take advantage and exploit the potential of the female in the Ghanaian economy in general. So if you look at the NPP, for instance, I'm talking about Danado's regime, this term for female thing was very, very, very
key.
Yes, was conspicuous for all of us to see. So she should specifically and very consciously, intentionally create scenarios, create opportunities to bring females into various sectors of our economy, so that we can pinpoint that this is what Jane was able to bring to the table because we had a female president for the first time. It is not just the position, but when the females began to lose their seats, their parliamentary seats, you see on social media people saying that they did not do anything for us. They talked that we should have females in parliament was not needless, because when they were there, they did not implement simple policies like not taxing pads, sanitary pads. So if they were there and they could not do this to help females, why do we have to get them there? So Jane should be very intentional about policies that will let us exploit the potentials that the females have had that we haven't tapped over the years.
All right, so we'll go back to our smart wall, and a while ago I asked that we refresh it's because we have some new results. We have 276 constituencies. We have 212, certified results in now, which means we have some 64 more constituencies to clear. And that's why I'm calling this session the final lap of our 2024 coverage. Tim Joy will be taking over from us, in a bit, and then we'll be having some more analysis and more conversations up until when the EC chair herself, declares the winners and all that. Eugene, what new constituencies do we have? From which regions are these coming from?
Yeah, David. So when you look at the presidential map from ASMAT, you can clearly see it's a much more filled map compared to the parliamentary, because there are lots of contention when the parliamentary. So let's do a quick regional tour across the various regions. So when you go to the Upper West, out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, after the constituencies, only Nadoli, Kalio, and Nandom is outstanding. All the rest are in Sisala West, and they are all a green wave. When you go to the Upper West region, the NDC have just done a clean sweep of all these places. Now let's look at the picture, how it looked in 2020. So in 2020, in the Upper West region, for example, the NPP was holding the Sisala East seat, they were holding the Lambushi seat, and also the Nandom seat. The Nandom, was held by the former Interior Minister Ambrose Derry. So 2024 means that the NPP has lost the Sisala East seat and the Lambushi seat. We are still waiting for the Nandom constituency. Now, when you go to the Upper East region, let's look at the 2020 picture. In Upper East, in 2020, the NPP held the Binduri seat. Now, when you go to 2024, you can see that the NPP have lost the Binduri seat. What is outstanding is the Bolga Central constituency in the Upper East region. Now, let's come to the Savannah region, which is made up of, if my memory serves, 7 constituencies. In 2020, this is how the picture looked in the Savannah region. For example, the NPP held the Damango seat, which is held by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Bujinapo, the Daboya seat, and also the Salaganov seat. Now, in 2024, what is the picture in Savannah region? The Damango is in contention. The EC office there has been set ablaze by some irate youth and all that. So the 2 of the 3 seats the NPP held, the Daboya seat has been taken by the NDC. As we speak now, we are waiting for update from the Salaganov and also Damango. Now let's go to the northern region as we have it now. In the northern region has 18 constituencies. In 2020, it was divided. It was 9-9 for each. The NPP held the Karaga seat, the Gushegu, where Hassan Tampuli is. They held the Miom seat. They have the Tolon. The Tolon is by the Abib, one of the leadership in the NPP in Parliament. The Yendi seat, Farouk Aliu Mahama, son of former Vice President of our country, Aliu Mahama. Zabzugu, they held the Tatali Sunguli seat, and also the Bimbila held by the Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo, who has been actually re-elected and for the 5th time to be the Member of Parliament for the area. I just saw his confirmation before I came in. So that is it for you there. Tolon has been retained, Savilugu has been retained, Minyom has been lost, and also Yendi has been lost for the NPP. So Farouk Aliu Mahama has lost the Yendi seat to the NDC. So the MP, you can clearly see that the NDC is performing quite creditably well across the country. Now let's go to the northeast to finish there. A northern region as we have it. In 2020, this is how the northeast region look like. This is the home region of the NPP presidential candidate and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The NPP held the Yabaga Kubori seat, which is held by the sports minister. They held the Walewali seat, which is held by, I think, his sister, the Minister for Gender, who lost in the primaries to Dr. Tia of the Vice President Office and his technical advisor. They also held the Yonyo seat and also the Chirpone. So of the 6 constituencies in the Northeast region, the MPP held 4 out of the 6. Now, what is the picture in 2024? When you look at the picture in 2024, you can clearly see the MPP has lost the Yonyo seat. That is clearly what jumps to us. Let me go back again and see whether they had the Chirpone seat. Yes, so the MPP has also lost the Chirpone seat in the Northeast region and the Yonyo seat. We are waiting for update from Walewale, and I've seen Dr. Tia confirm that he's won the seat. We are waiting for the official results. We are also waiting for Narigu Gambaga, which is formerly held by Alima Mahama, the former local government minister, and also the Bumpurugu seat there. So that is the 5 northern regions. Now let's come to the Bono region. We've already analyzed the Bono region there, so I will not go back there. Let's go to the Bono East region. Now, David, in 2020, this is how the Bono East looked in the Bono East region. So the NPP held just 3 constituencies, Techima and South, held by Martin Ejeme-Sakosa, the Minister for Local Government. You know the issues, that's where 2 people died at the collation center. There's also been some disturbing scenes coming from Techima again in this year's election, and it's an area our security agencies must pay quite an attention to. They also held the Kintampo South seat, Alexander Jan. Then also they have the Pru West, that is the Stephen Jalula. He's a deputy minister. I think deputy minister of health, if I'm not mistaken. In 2024, how is the picture looking like in the Bono East region? The NPP has lost the Pru East seat, and also, so these are the 2 that we have. For now, the 3 constituencies we have now. So what I can report is that the Bono East, 1 seat has been lost by the NPP, and that is Pru West. So Honorable Stephen Jalula has lost the seat. Now let's go to the Ahafo region. When you go to the Ahafo region in 2020, this is how the picture looked in the Ahafo constituency. The NPP held the Sunafo North, which is the former, I think he's the current deputy minister for sports, Evans Bobie, and also they held the Sutifi North, which is by Patrick Bono. Then they held the Tano North, which was held by Frida Prempe, who were defeated by Gideon Boaku, the spokesperson of the vice president in the primaries, and also the Tano South, Dr. Seche, that's the Bechim, and it's included. So the NDC only held the Sunafo South by Eric Opoku, and also Collins Dauda at Esutifi South. That is Sankore and its enclave. In 2024, this is how the picture is looking like in the Ahafo region. The NDC has flipped the Tano South seat, and this is a seat that was formerly held by the Young Women's Organizer. That is the Honorable Hannah Bisiu. No, so this is the Collins Dauda seat. So let me take you to Tano South. In 2012, he won. So you can clearly see Hannah Bisiu has won it before. So this is not the first time the NDC is winning the city. In 1996, they also won it there. Now the NDC has also flipped the Sunafo North seat. Let's check the Sunafo North seat. Yes, so they flipped the Sunafo North, which was held by Evans Bobie. So the NDC is having quite a Green Ghana movement across the various regions when it comes to the parliamentary race. So that is the Ahafo region. Now let's come to the Western North region. David, in 2020, this is how the Western North looked. When you go to the Western North region, the NPP held the Seshia Kontombra seat, which was held by Alexander there. They also held the Seshia seat, which was held by Kweku Free. You know, there was a lot of issues here in the 2020 election where the MDC disputed it. Then the man we call Approacher Series, Alfred Obem Boateng, also held the Bibiani Anyaso seat for the NPP in the Western North region. Now, in 2024, this is how the Western North is looking. Green Ghana again, where the NDC has flipped the Bibiani Anyaso Bekwai seat. Alfred Obem has lost to Bright Benefo. They've also lost the Seshia Kontombra seat to the NDC. That is Honorable Tete has lost it. Pius has won for the NDC. Then also the NDC has also flipped the Seshia, which is the capital of the Western North region. So it clearly tells that of the 3 seats the NPP held in the Western North region, they've lost all of them. Now, David, let's go to the Western region and look at some of the dynamics there. In 2020, this is how the Western region looked like. The NPP held the Takwan Swayim seat. They held the Empower seat. They held the Sikado Keten, which is Honorable Joe Gate. They held the Shama constituency. The Kwesimintim constituency. Kwesimintim was Dr. Prince Sama, the former boss for NACA. They held the Takrady seat and also the Ahanta West seat. Honorable Alexander Kum. Remember famously when it was brought to Parliament in an ambulance during the passage of the E-levy and all that. So this is how the Western region looked. So in the Western region, these were the seats the NPP held. Takwan Swayim, Empoho, Shama, Esikado Keten, Kwesimintim, Takrady, and Ahanta West. What is the picture in 2024? Again, you see the greening of Ghana happening there. For the first time in its history, the Takwa and Swayim seat, David, has been lost by the NPP. It's a seat comfortably held by the NPP. But the nuance that happened in 2020, where a certain lady, let me get you the name, let me clear my trends and get you the name. There was an independent candidate called Joy, whose husband is quite influential in the Takwa politics of the area. He is, I think, of Corbin Mines. That's the husband, very influential there, where he contested and garnered some decent votes in the area. So it is not surprising that the NDC has been able to flip this. So let me give you the 2020. So that's what I mean by 2020. Yes. So in 2020, the current minister, the deputy minister for local government, George Brekuduka, and also the coordinator of the Bamia campaign in the Galamsey or illegal mining communities, garnered 21,946, while the NDC's John J. Arban garnered 31,845. So, David, if my math is right, this will mean the difference between them was 101. Between the NPP and the NDC, because they all garnered 31,000, so 946 minus 845 is 101. Then this independent candidate, she is from the fold of the NPP. She garnered 29,000. Clearly, it tells you that she ate into the bread of George Mekuduka. Her husband is very influential, as I've told you. So in 2024, this is the picture in the Takwan Swayim seat, where Issa Taylor of the NDC has flipped the seat and won with a very decent margin of almost 7,000 in the Takwan Swayim. So for the first time, Takwan Swayim will be held by the NDC. Now, then, when you go to the Sama constituency, the Sama constituency is very, very interesting. Anytime the Sama constituency votes for a political party, they tend to win the presidential election. So they will look at it. In 1996, it was a clean sweep presidential and parliamentary. In 2000, they voted for the NPP presidential parliamentary. 2004 presidential parliamentary. 2008 presidential parliamentary for the NDC. 2012 presidential parliamentary for the NDC. 2016 presidential parliamentary for the NPP. 2020 presidential parliamentary for the NPP. So if you want one constituency, you can use as a narrative or how to gauge the mood of the election. That is the Shama constituency. Anytime they vote the parliamentary and the presidential for a particular political party, they go on to win the elections. So that is some narrative for you about the Shama constituency. Also, David, the NPP historically has lost the second D. Let me find it for you. I'm not finding it on my board, where we are picking signals that the current minister, I think for tourism, Japan Mesa has been a former deputy energy minister, has lost the seat to Blay Ama. You know, this gentleman had lots of issues. He was being called a lawyer. At a point, the lawyer appeared on his ballot. The General Legal Council called him, and he said, no, since he was a kid, he's been called lawyer. So he felt that he can put it on the poster. Japan Mesa is a lawyer, and people felt that he's not done enough for Secondary. So, David, in the history of Secondary, Papo Uswankuma, Ghana's current High Commissioner to the UK, his seat, which brought him to fame in 1996, the likes of Hakman Owusu-Agyemang, J.H. Mensah for the NPP. They've lost their second D seat, and for the first time, the NDC will be holding the second D seat in the Western region. So it's a clean sweep. So the only seat the NPP is comfortable of maintaining currently, or has won, is that of Takoradi, where the regional minister, Kwabena Darko Mensah, has also decently. David, you can see the margin. It was a bit discomforting. 900,000. Let's look at 2020 and see what the margin was. In 2020, he won decently. So it clearly tells you that something is happening in the Western region where the NPP must pay attention to, because in the last election, the same candidate, the difference was some 13,000. Then in 2024, the difference is just about 900. That clearly tells you that something is happening. Now, quickly, let me take you to the central region. Let's go to the central region and look at what is happening in the central region. So, David, I think I have a bit of issue with my smartwatch. The update is happening. So this is basically a bit of a tour in the 16 regions and what is happening in the parliamentary election.
If you look carefully at this tour of the regions, especially on parliamentary, you realize that the NDC, and I've mentioned it a while ago, the NDC has a majority, overwhelming majority. As it stands now, is 158-57. When we had the hang parliament, 137, many people felt that was a situation that will help our parliamentary, business and of course the nation at large. But unfortunately, you and I know what happened. With this overwhelming, majority in parliament, how is it going to benefit Ghanaians?
Yeah, thank you very much. Generally speaking, I expect a hang parliament to do better. than having a parliament that one party has such an overwhelming majority. What is going to happen is that, and if the government, the incoming government is not careful, this is going to make them to become swollen-headed, and they will not subject most of the bills to very serious scrutiny. This is a big temptation for them. The way it is, NDC alone can pass bills comfortably in Parliament, and that is not good for democracy.
Dr. Ali, if you believe in what he just said, that they might become swollen-headed and might be passing bills that would not have the right scrutiny, done. Question I ask is this. They've been in opposition before. Ghanaians are giving them the mandate a second time, especially the with this kind of overwhelming numbers in Parliament. Or they'll sit down and say, listen, let's do the right thing.
First of all, I want to commend the NDC party executives for doing a great job, from Asedun Ketia to the constituency executives, because when Eugene was taking us through the tour, that was so overwhelming. Yeah, but I think the NDC government, led by the former president and now president-elect John Mahama, has a mandate that should let them not feel like it's a holiday. So it's a parliament where they can do what they like. You see, they owe this thing to Ghanaians, and they owe this thing to the youth of Ghana. They owe this thing to the people who fought to bring them to power. It has little or less to do with an opposition teaching them or putting them on their toes to do the right thing. They are challenged by the gains they have made in these elections. They are challenged by the situation Ghana is in now, which they claim they can do better, to work in a manner that will be self-fulfilling, that will let them feel like we had a mandate, and then the Ghanaian populace gave us the opportunity, they had confidence in us, and then we have to focus on doing what they expect us to do, rather than think that we have a very comfortable parliamentary numbers, and then when we go, we decide to do what will please us or here or there. So I am confident that the president is, or the former president, now president-elect, is very experienced enough. The parliamentary candidates, if you check the trend, they know that they will go back to their populace. They can't go there and be doing the bidding of the party alone. If they work well, they will be retained. If they don't do well and go and do the bidding of the government, they will be booted out, because Ghana was not all green. It has become green for a reason. And if you repeat the mistakes of the people who have given you this opportunity to flip, then you will go back to where
we have a few more regions to explore. Greater Accra, Volta, and Yellow Krobo, that's in the eastern region. But before we do that, Dr. Nyaba, you've been mentioning about the fact that in as much as this year's elections is quite interesting, the 2028 elections is going to be more interesting than that of, the 2024 elections. Please don't forget that thought. I would ask you why you made mention of that. But for now, let's visit the eastern region and the Volta region, the Greater Accra region, and see whether it's still green or it's blue.
So, David, when you go to the eastern region, which is my home region, this is how the eastern region was looking like. When you go to the eastern region, the only seat held by the NDC, where the Akwatia constituency, where the issues between NS and Amase, and the NDC won the seat. It's also a historically a seat where it's a bit interesting. The NPP comfortably wins a presidential, but they don't shy away from this cut and blah. Baba Jama, a former executive of the NDC, have won this when Amase defeated him. Ayins one held by Honorable Teddy, quite popular on TikTok, and also the Upper Menya areas, the Yulo Krobo areas, the Lower Menya areas, Esrujaman. So if you know Koforia, when you're moving towards Nkrakan to Somenya, to Akosumbo and those areas, they were dominated by the NDC. Then you have the farm plains, and David, you notice that these constituencies border the Secha farm plains in the eastern Ashanti region, where the NPP also wins comfortably and have won 4 times since 2012. So that is a farm plains south and a farm plains north. And they win these areas because of the work. This is where Don Kokrom is, because of the work of Jerry John Rawlings. We made it key. So you can clearly see the NPP comfortably wins around this area. This is my home constituency, Kede constituency, where Assume is. So what is the picture in 2024? So far, this is how the eastern region is looking like. Abrim has been retained, certainly, and Koko has been retained. Abetifi, Honorable Brian Echampon has retained his seat for the NPP. Etiwa West has had a new candidate where the road minister is to be Kwekwam Wakwata. So under Accra Kumasi, when you go to Enyinem, the road that takes you to Kwabeng, that is the area that you are talking about. And Enyinem proper is Etiwa East, which I expect the current Minister for State for Finance Ministry, Abno Sasari, to win. So you can clearly see that the NPP, Pius Anamajide, was unsuccessful at the Sujaman. He has again been defeated at the Sujaman constituency. And historically, David, the Upper West Akim constituency, let's look at the trends. It's dominated by the NDC. They've been able to maintain or flip the seat because it was held by the NPP in 2020. So there's been a flip of the Upper West Akim constituency. I'm also being told that there's likely that Asamankese and its enclave, which is the Lower West Akim area, will be won by the NDC for the first time. And David, historically, we all know Obi Amwa, former Deputy Sports Minister under the Kufuor regime, very key MPP figure, has held this seat comfortably for the MPP. That is Ebri and its enclave. So we have 2 Equiapim Council, Equiapim North, which is a Kropong, Manfe, Latte, and those areas. Then when you begin from Ebri to Obosumase and those enclave, these were the Equiapim circles held by Obiama. There's a new candidate, Eric Apiedo, and the MPP have lost the seat to the NDC for the very first time in its history. Ebri's MP will be from the NDC. So that is briefly how the eastern region is looking like when you go on the map. Now, if I can take you to, so the updates are happening. David asked, and when we have, okay, so I have it now. Let's go to the OT region. Let's go to the OT region. In 2020, this is how the OT region looked like. When you go in 2020, it was a clean sweep for the NDC. They held all the OT seats. What has changed in 2024? Nothing. It's so a green. So we are just waiting for the constituency for this. Okay, so so that means that it's settled. The entire OT region has still been maintained by the NDC. Now let's go to the central region. We remember that in 2020, the central region voted comfortably for President Akufo-Addo presidential. So when you look at the presidential 2020, for example, John Dramani Mahama for the central region. No, so this is the eastern region. Let me take you back to the central region. When you check 2020 presidential, the NDC lost, but they won the parliamentary, where they won about 19 or so of the 23 constituencies there. So David, 2020, this is how the central region looked like. When you go there, let me lock this in. So 2020, this is the picture. The MPP held the Upper Dentra East seat. They held a census where you have Reverend John Intim Fojo of Education, Deputy Minister for Education. They held the Heman Lower Dentra seat. Then Kennedy Japan seat, which is the Sin Central seat, was held by the MPP. Then they held the Agona West seat, where you have Honorable Cynthia Morrison. Then also they held the Gomwa Central. Nana Year held the seat. Then they held a Wutu Senya East, where you had Honorable Mavisawa Kumsin there. Then they also held a Futu, where you have the current majority leader, Alex Afenyo-Markin, holding. So these were the seats they held. Now in 2024, this is how the picture looks in the central region. You can clearly see that for the first time in this history, when the constituency was split, the MPP is losing Kennedy Ejapon seat, which is a Central. And this gentleman, Noreen Mijima has won the seat for the NDC for the first time in Asin Central. And David, this is quite telling. So doesn't mean Kennedy didn't campaign it because he was following Napo around and all that. This is pretty shocking there. Also, Reverend Intimford has maintained the seat there. Also, we are picking that A+ is likely to win this Agona West seat. So the Agona West has been won by the NDC. There's been a flip where Honorable Cynthia Morrison is. So it's a very interesting shake-up, and you can clearly see that.
Also lost, yes?
Yes, our Kumsin has also lost. We are waiting for the official report. David, in Ewutu Senya East, when you check the numbers, it is not surprising. Let's check the numbers in 2016, for example. The NDC brought a certain lady they call, Ewutu Senya East. Yes, they brought Adam Hunu. When you look at the difference, it was 10,000. Then in 2020, they brought one Koyo Okono. That's the Phyllis, Koyo Okono. The difference was 6,000. And we know it was a keenly contested seat in 2020. There were gunshots this year. There's also been gunshots. So I'm not surprised that the reports are coming that he's won. I've actually seen the declaration video where the presiding officer for the area held the hand and told her she's won the seat there. I'm also told that Alexa Fenyomakin in Winneba has maintained the seat. And David Eugene Ahen, the Director of Communications at the presidency, has been unsuccessful to wrestle back the seat for the NPP when it comes to the Wutu Senya West constituency. You know, that seat was held by Honorable Hannah Tete, the sister Giselle. The MPP's under, George Anda won the seat. Then Giselle, the sister of Hannah Tete, won it back. Eugene Ahen wanted to win it, but he has been unsuccessful. This is the picture for the central region. I just do the Volta region. The MPP only held one seat in the Volta region. When you go back to 2020, that is the Hohoi seat. Honorable Peter Mel, former energy minister, minister for railway development, this was the seat he held. Report we are picking is that the seat has been lost and returned to the NDC in the Volta region. It's not surprising. And David, there's a new gentleman on the block in Ketu North. That is Edem Agbana, who is also one. He is replacing a huge figure in the NDC policy, James Klucha-Veji, who has held the seat for a very long time, the chair of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. Now, lastly, let me take you to the Western region. I think we've already done the Western region. So basically, this is a sweep of the regions and the data we have so far.
Is the Greater Accra region.
Yes, the Greater Accra region. So let's go there. Let's go to the Greater Accra region. Okay. The Greater Accra is small, so let me take my time. This is the Greater Accra region. In 2020, this is how the Greater Accra region looked like. It's one of the regions the MPP lost very miserably, in 2020. Okay, so this is the Greater Accra region. Let me lock it. This is 2020. This is the picture. So in the Greater Accra region, the NPP held the Amasaman constituency. They held the Dome Kwabenya constituency. They also held the Trobo constituency. They held the Wejakbawe constituency. English Botiano, a man from Honorable Stephen Tete, Deputy Minister for Information, and I'm told he's also lost. They also held the Ablikuma West, Honorable Slosu Kufu, who has lost when you come to the picture. You see, they held Okankwe South, Dakwan Newman. He was one of the new kids on the block. His father, key figure in the MPP politics. And also they held the Ayawaso Central, where we had the Interior Minister, Honorable Henry Korte there.
Again, if what I'm hearing is right, he has also lost.
Yes. Then we also had Mama Lydia, who replaced the husband in Ayawaso West Wogon, where John Dumelo has been declared as the winner. They held the Tema West seat, which is Honorable Carlos Ayenkra, who was not contesting again, and all that. So these were the seats the MPP held. Now, when it comes to 2024, this is the picture in the Greater Accra. Again, Ghana is being green. The NDC has flipped the Tema East seat where Carlos held it. And remember Carlos in the last parliament where he won to take some ballots and ran it. And also, David, historically, Electoral has flipped the biggest constituency you have in Ghana, 182,000 registered voters, the Dome Kwabenya constituency. Honorable Aaron Michael Kwe, Right Honorable former Speaker, held the seat until Adwasafu took it in 2012. We all know the issues that happened in Dome Kwabenya. His son, Michael Kwe Jr., ambassador to India, now CEO of the Free Zones Board, wanted to keep the seat for the MPP, but has been unsuccessful. 51,000, 50,000 difference between him and Eli Kulim, who's won the seat. Amasaman is here to come in to know what is happening there. But it clearly tells you that the MPP is losing most of its seats in the Greater Accra region, and the NDC is doing well. For those who like the fun fact, President Rawlings' daughter, Zenetta Jiman Rawlings, was facing a former constituency chair of the NPP in the Collation constituency, that's at Dabraka and its enclave. She has comfortably maintained a seat, making her a 3-term member of parliament, 39,000, that's again 23,716. And David, you're also being told that when you go to the Ablekuma West constituency, for the first time, it's flipped to the NDC. So let's look at the trends comfortably by the NPP, held by the NPP. But in this year's election, Reverend Kweku Addo has flipped it for the NDC. Also, Honorable Francis Xavier Sesu Amadina has maintained the seat for the NDC. Now, when you go to La Dadiko Topon, there was a gentleman who was contesting there for the NDC. He's also won it. When you go to Adenta, David, let's look at the trends. Yeah. You know, Akosia Menu was contested, one of the keenly contested ones. Their primaries were a bit acrimonious because of contesting one Baba, who we know is very closely associated with the vice presidential candidates of the NPP Napo. So these are the trends have been. And it clearly tells that when it comes to presidential, they tend to vote for the NDC more. Okay. But parliamentary, they change their hands. This gentleman, who is also the brother-in-law of, we are told, of the vice president and also the NPP presidential candidate, Honorable Mohammed Ramadan, has maintained the seat, comfortable victory, almost 19,000 gap. So this is how Adenta is also looking like for the NDC.
So we'll be going back to the smart wall and be doing some, analysis and share some more data with our viewers. Now, we know that out of the 276 constituencies, we have 217 in. So gradually we're getting closer to getting all the collated certified results to share. But Dr. Ali, if I may ask this question of you, the NPP clearly has lost. And people will say that the margin they lost by is really huge. Now, we have often said this, that if the Ashanti region, people in the Ashanti region step out in the numbers to vote and vote well, their voter turnout always beats that of the national turnout and has, a reflection on victory. Based on what we have right now, where the NPP has lost, and of course we know that the presidential candidate for the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has considered defeat, what should be their strategy? What should they be doing right now, especially in the Ashanti region? I ask this because they spent 15 straight days in the Ashanti region, kept going to and fro, coming back to the Ashanti region. It didn't seem to work. They chose a running mate in Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe. Again, it didn't seem to work. How should they take this results? What should they do going forward?
Yes, thank you. Ashanti region is indeed a very significant space for the fortunes of the NPP in particular. And to some extent, despite the fact that it doesn't come in real terms, the NDC know that when they make a certain percentage, it also impacts on their victory. But for NPP in particular, I think the odds were against the party leading to this 2024 elections in many facets. The first one was the performance of the government in general. Generally, Ashanti region did not feel that the government did enough for the region to whip up their enthusiasm to give them another mandate. The second one was the candidate. The man Bawumia came and gave Ghanaians a lot of hope that he was capable of doing. But along the line, the excuse was that because he was not the driver and just the mate, he could not do enough. But when he was making the promises, you were making the promises as a mate who had what it takes to
deliver,
help the government, that you were going to be an integral part to deliver. And since that one did not materialize, I think he didn't come out as a candidate who will whip up enthusiasm among the youth in Ashanti region to go and then vote. So the odds against the party were too many. So I think they should strategize. The reason why, let me just tie this into why I felt even before these elections that 2028 is going to be more crucial and more competitive, more difficult for all of us as a nation than this one. This one was pretty much straightforward because the government had performed woefully and Ghana needed a change. Leading up to the next elections, we are talking about two different dynamics. For the NDC, they have not actually outwardly prepared anybody to take over from Mahama, who is constitutionally mandated to do only one term because he has already done the other in the previous regime. So that is going to be a contest, if it is not handled well, can lead to internal situations that may not augur well for the fortunes of the party. For the NPP too, we all know the circumstances that characterized the primaries, the presidential primaries, and then Bawumia eventually won. A lot of people doesn't see a straightforward endorsement of Bawumia in the next elections. And they are going to look at the general nationwide scenario and how they can get a candidate a winnable candidate, somebody who will sell to the conscience of the whole Ghanaians in general, but the Ashanti region in particular, because NPP usually when they are winning, they don't win with so many regions. They need the two major regions, Eastern and Ashanti region, to coming out to vote in their numbers. When they come out to vote in their numbers, it helps the fortunes of the party. So they need a candidate who will be appealing to these two regions, who will whip up enthusiasm among the populace in these two regions to come and vote. So that is also going to be very, very crucial. So you are looking at Napo, who was brought in to be vice to Dr. Bawumia in these elections, and then you ask yourself whether going forward he stands the chance of being a credible candidate, not to be vice again, but probably lead the party because he has the background from where the World Bank of the party is. And then if you ask me, I have my reservations about it. So if it is not Napo, who else can come out and then maybe help us get the Ashanti region to come out in their numbers to vote, not just the Ashanti region, but also hip-hop enthusiasm among other people in other regions. So because these questions are unanswered, it is very difficult for any of the political parties to see a clear path into the future, particularly in the 2028 elections. So it makes it quite crucial, and it all boils down to decision making. And if you check the performance of the NDC in this election, boils down to how well the party were able to get their decisions right. And that's why I commended Asidun Ketia, who is the chairman of the party, because there were so many controversial decisions. And if the outcome is like this, then it means that apart from the fact that the government didn't perform well, they got their decisions right and took advantage of the situation, and then have overwhelmingly won in both presidential and then parliamentary elections.
But so you talked about a winnable candidate when you mentioned the NPP. Is that to say that going into 2028, the presidential candidate they had in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should be looked at again? Is not a winnable candidate?
To a very large extent, ordinarily, I think he's the one who have been sold by the party very much. And one of the arguments that even brought him for the 2024 contest was the fact that because he was vice to Nanado, he was known, he was very popular in 2016 in particular. Why do we now have to get a new person? Because Mahama is a candidate who have been president, vice president before. So if you pitch him against somebody who is relatively very unknown, that is going to put the NPP in a very disadvantageous position. So it was one of the reasons why he was endorsed for the 2024 elections. But you see, his performance in these elections may make the NPP rethink that decision and probably think that, yes, it may not just be about how we have sold the candidate, how the candidate is known in Ghana. we have to also look at some of the very petty dynamics, national dynamics, and then put out a candidate maybe early enough, sell him, because if the candidate is good enough to meet the tastes of what usually bring our supporters to vote, I think we can sell him well enough to turn our fortunes, because the popularity of Dr. Bawumia did not work for us in the previous election. So why do we go about selling the same argument in the next one?
But Prof, is it just about the popularity of a candidate, or it goes beyond that? I mean, this time around, people are being real. Now, we had the Vice President once say that the economy is what you feel in your pocket. So yes, you could be one of our own. Yes, you could have done, the digitalization and all that. But this time around, let's look at our reality.
Yes.
And then vote. Is that what happened now?
Yes. Thank you once again. At this point, I think I will go differently from what Doc has already said, in the sense that this election that we've gone through, I think it went beyond the person of Bawumia, the candidate. It is a kind of, it is about the government, the performance of the government. The government had performed very poorly. The economy, as we are all emphasizing, has been very bad. And in addition to this, the government didn't seem to care about the concerns of Ghanaians. Take the issue of the environment. People thought that, no, you have to do something different. And in fact, they came to power on the back of using the environment as some of the issues they were coming to tackle. But Akufo-Addo came. Take the issue of corruption. People voted in 2020, especially 2016, massively for Akufo-Addo because they thought this guy can really deal with this canker. He came and it didn't look like that. So I think the performance, and look at the way it has swept through the whole country. This is something that goes beyond Bawumia. I think rather that, I would say that, but for Bawumia, the situation maybe could have been even worse off. Because notwithstanding the challenges, of course, some people thought within the party that Bawumia has not been a known party member for that long. Yes, that is there. But what Bawumia brought to the campaign was his personal integrity, something that people felt that, no, this guy has this integrity thing that we can go with. And therefore, the election we just went through, it's not about Bawumia per se. It is about, it is a verdict on the government and not Bawumia.
Let me ask this question. When Dr. Bawumia addressed the election and considered, defeat in this year's elections, one of the key things that I observed was that Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh Napo, as he's affectionately called, was not there. Then I asked myself, if, let's say, hypothetically, if the NPP had won and he was going to give a victory speech, will Napo have been there? Is that communicating something to us? Listen, you were my running mate. We went into a battle. The outcome has not been as what we expected. I'm going to give a concession speech or address. Let's go. He was not there. Is that a big deal or to you? It's not? First
of all, let me say that what Bawumia did has been a very, very smart move. And what he did had saved the country from a very big situation that would have developed. And linking that to the question of the absence of Napo at that event, I would, or I feel, or I think that some individuals in the MPP may even have disagreed with Bawumia, especially at the time he went. Some may have seen that, or would have thought that, no, you should have waited a little bit more.
Waited for what? And this is a man who says
Everything.
He's into digitalization. His men on the grounds have worked.
Everything.
On the evening when we were here, I think it was around 2 a.m., when we went to the party's communications directorate and spoke to our correspondent on the ground, the office was virtually empty.
You see, the NPP had, let me say that, they had expected, maybe they had expected something to happen in order that they would win at all cost.
Are you talking about maybe some rigging, some stealing? I just want to be clear. I'm asking the question.
I will not be that forthright, but I believe that they felt that, look, even though we can see what is happening, there could be some ways to win. This is what I felt. And for that matter, there will be people, and if you look at somebody like Napo, the kind of person he presents, I believe he disagreed with the vice president.
Coming out at that time.
Coming out at that time. I think so. Because, you know, they knew what they really were expecting.
No, but again, for me, from where I'm sitting, and, you know, like Dr. Ali, if I may come to you with the same kind of question, but let me paint a different scenario here. When we spoke to our correspondent on the ground, my colleague Kenneth JC, and you were here with us, you saw their office. There was no activity. What else could you expect from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia than to come and say, well, we have done some kind of checks, and he said it in his concession speech. Based on what we have gathered so far, there was no way that we're going to win. So I concede, and he congratulated, you know, the president-elect. Do you agree with Professor Akote when he says that he thinks that, well, he had come to, you know, concede too early?
Yeah, I think Prof was just making the point that some party members might have felt he came too early. Some party members might have felt, yeah, but you see, Prof, if you listened and analyzed Bawumia's address well, he did not just say he was conceding defeat. He also added that they have overwhelmingly won by the data. It is when you are close that things can turn around. But from the data, he said for winning overwhelmingly. So the difference was too wide that
for you to.
It is almost impossible for anything different to happen.
Yeah.
So the more you waste time in doing the needful, the more you are jeopardizing the very precious peace and political serenity that we have enjoyed. That the kind of reputation that we have earned globally was at stake. And then it also adds up to his own reputation going into the future. And you know, as a politician, one of the greatest things you should learn to do is to how to accept defeat.
Exactly.
Accept defeat with good emotions, good temperament, and then you wait to see the next elections.
So based on what you just said, how smart was that concession speech or address that he gave yesterday morning?
Extremely. You know, I already, immediately I got here, I was commending him for what he has done, and particularly because of the fact that, like Prof was saying, this may not be a very popular decision within the party. And that is where you show leadership. You know, as a leader, sometimes you overlook consensus and do the most pressing thing to do at a particular point in time. And that is something that I have given it to Bawumia, that it's one of his greatest shots. You know, I as a person, I admire his emotional stability in his career as a politician. And he has shown that even within the NPP ranks, how he came out to lead the party. People were complaining. But if you were not doing this, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? But this man maintained his composure. And even when everybody was predicting that he was not likely to be given the nod to lead the party because of the tradition of the party, because of his own newness to the ranks of the party, he was able to emerge overwhelmingly victorious. So it adds up to one of his personal ingenuity as a politician.
So, Prof, a while ago, you made a statement that made me ask whether you were wondering or you were trying to put across that, you know, somebody was trying to rig or steal or something. And you say you don't come out openly and say that. In this year's elections, how will you say the vigilance of the NDC in this year's elections, how key would you say it is in their victory in this year's elections?
I think that vigilance in this case has really paid off. The vigilance of the NDC should be credited for having to protect what the nation has actually said. And let me say that this is a repetition of what happened in the year 2000, almost like that. Remember, in the year 2000, Ghana was trying to move away from the military NDC kind of thing. And people didn't believe that it was going to be possible. And so when that time came, the NPP realized that, looking at the national mood, people would want a change. But then we need to do something extraordinary in order to protect whatever Ghanaians' decisions that they were going to make. And one of the things they did was to make sure they policed this same ballot box and the polling stations. In fact, in the Volta region, including the OT region, I was part of it, that we bussed people from Accra, polling agents from Accra, in order to go and protect the ballots. Remember, at the same time, they deployed, the NDC government deployed a lot of the military all across the region. Okay? They were deployed at the various polling stations. But notwithstanding this, the MPP was so determined that, because remember, at that time, the MPP didn't believe even the polling agents of their own polling agents in the Volta region. That is how come I took 2 bus loads of polling agents from Accra, Kufuor bus, 2 bus loads for Biakoye and Buem. And this is the same thing that I think NDC has also done.
So let me come to you, Dr. Ali. The NPP came to the Ashanti region and they campaigned vigorously. It didn't seem to work. They chose a running mate from the Ashanti region. Again, it didn't seem to work. What next should they do? Should they tour the region and still engage with the people here in the region and say, yeah, we thank you for what you did? So, what should they be doing at this point in time?
As a last resort strategy, the MPP felt like, yes, we have disappointed you, but you see, we are still the better of the 2 evils. So come out and vote for us. And it is better Sazi Wofia Oye. It is better you vote for us than to allow power to go to the opposing part. It still did not work. The bottom line, the lesson going forward is that everything that you want from the electorates, it boils down to that single thing, governance, how you are able to govern well. You see, if you implement policies that affect the people positively, you will not have last-minute political gimmicks to change your fortunes during elections. Honestly, I heard people speak about the NDC going to Accra to do their last rally and the NPP also going to Accra to do their last rally. I don't think it is those last rallies that affected the electoral outcomes of these elections. Or I don't think it is the many days that NDC spent in Ashanti region or NPP spent in Ashanti region that affected the electoral outcomes of the two parties. I think that, you see, rather than going to undertake projects in the last year or sometimes even few days before elections, when you are in power, right from the first day, govern well, implement the policies that have positive impacts on the general well-being of the people.
So what you say,
make it less
forgive me, Doc. I just want to ask this question. So you're saying that even the last-minute commissioning of projects, we had some in the Ashanti region, some, Agenda 111 projects where the president himself came down and commissioned. You think that, the people do not appreciate it?
That is too simplistic. That is overly simplistic. And this is a tactic or gimmick that political parties have done over the years, both the NDC and NPP. And then Ghanaians have become used to the fact that in the last year of a regime, they will come and then sometimes initiate projects. Even if you vote for that same party, they may not even continue to do it until the other election is coming. So I think it is something that is a strategy that the political parties should know by now, that it is not going to work anymore. This is something you have benefited from in the past. This is something that we have become so used to as citizens in Ghana now. And if, like I said, if you want to make political gains during elections, please, right from the beginning of your tenure, implement policies that have the potential to better the lives of the citizenry. And when it's getting to the elections, you wouldn't have much to do or much to say. After Kufuor's first term, from 2000 to 2004, there was not much to do to win the next elections. And if you have time, the 2008 elections, but for internal political wranglings among the NPP, it would have been the first time that a party will break the 8. And if I look at the trend, governments have now flipped 3 or 4 times. If you ask me, if I look at all the trends, so the first one was in 2000, the second one was in 2008, the third one was in 2016, and then now, so this is about the fourth one. I think the most realistic time to have maintained a government beyond the 8 years was in 2008 after the Kufuor's regime. But for internal distance, he implemented projects that affected the citizens better than the last-minute thing that the various governments have been doing after that time that I'm talking about, after 2008.
So let's look at that of the NDC, because I asked how the NPP should go about things based upon their losses. You mentioned that, listen, going into 2020, they need to have a winnable candidate. That's how come I asked about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and all that. From where you sit, do you think that Kennedy Jepong and Matthew Pokupembe Doctor would want to rear their heads into 2028?
They are going into opposition. We are not likely to have as many people as we had in the previous primaries. But the more obvious people are those who contested Bawumia and are still around and will still have the age, will still have the resources, even in opposition, to come up. And one person that stands very conspicuous in my mind is Kennedy Japan. I think he will have the resources. He has the zeal, he has the enthusiasm to come back. He may be thinking that his chances, and if you look at his performance in the previous one, I think he has the chance to come. Alan Chirem, I think if he was still within the ranks of the party, but where he finds himself now, it will be very difficult to come back. I fancy so much less Matthew Opoku Prempeh because when he was even made the vice president, I did not see...
You mean the running mate?
The running mate, sorry. When he was made the running mate of the current vice president, I did not foresee him making that impact that Bawumia himself did for Akufo-Addo in 2016. So Matthew Opoku Prempeh may come, and but I see other people from Ashanti coming up and then giving him a much better competition for the Ashanti votes.
Prof, you're a governance expert. Doesn't continuity help? So looking at what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did for the NPP tickets that brought them into power in 2016, 2020, a lot of things he did, the addresses to the nation, talking about the economy and all that. Wouldn't it be prudent enough for him to be allowed to put his foot forward again in 2028?
Yes, that is what the MPP will benefit from most. What Doctor is saying is true. There is going to be other competitors, but looking at the person of the vice president, who he is, his character, the way people respect him for his integrity, and then also the way he understands issues that Ghanaians or issues that are of interest to Ghanaians, I would say that the best bet for the MPP going forward should be Dr. Bawumia. Even though I know that he is going to get a lot of competition, especially from Honorable Kennedy Japan, because look, those guys are going to point to this result to make their case that, you see, you didn't vote for us, look at it. But that will be very, very, very simplistic, okay? But then they are going to use that a lot against Dr. Bawumia. But then on the issue of Napo, it's unfortunate he had not brought anything. For me, I would say so. He had not brought anything.
Somebody just sent a message saying that he was a bad choice, wrong choice. You agree?
Very, very bad choice, honestly. You saw the noise, the hula baloo that greeted his nomination or choice or whatever. His choice was a very bad one for the MPP. In fact, of course, even if they were going to come out with somebody from Ashanti, there were other guys in Ashanti, like the education minister, and people from Ashanti. Kwamina Japan and all of these guys were there that they should have focused on. But you know, in these parties, sometimes those who make the most noise are thought to be the guys. These are people who can march on. But you see, Ghana is growing. Ghana is becoming more and more rational as a nation.
More discerning.
More discerning, more knowledgeable, and they have seen a lot already of such people.
I want for us to stay a while longer with the NPP.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something that has brought a question on my mind. So let's move to the NDC briefly. in 2028, John Mahama definitely is going to do only one term.
Yeah.
Should Jane be prepared for 2028?
For me, I will still say that yes, if they want to have it easy, and also based on the performance of their government, this 4 years government, and the way she will carry herself, if she will move on this way, I will believe that she should be their best bet. Because as of now, it is not clear. You cannot see anyone, though they should forgive me. I believe that people in the party, some of them may not be happy I'm saying this, but you see, all the time you should see somebody who is like well prepared ahead of time. But you cannot see that at the moment. And also looking at where she is coming from, the central region being one of the areas that receives a lot of attention in Ghanaian politics, I would advise that, left to me alone, the woman, the professor, should be prepared towards that.
Would you say that Ghanaians, or Ghana for that matter, is prepared for a female president?
It depends on the way she carries herself, the way she performs. For me, let me say this. Her acceptance speech, the acceptance speech that she gave far back then when she was nominated, or he was
reappointed, but
yes, he was
Mahama.
appointed. I gave a lot of respect to that lady. She really, really delivered. You could never have compared her delivery to Napo's delivery. They are never comparable. And I believe that, you see, one thing about those of us in academia is that we may not come out to be very loud, as some of them think that if you are a politician, you should be. But that is not the way to go.
How would you respond to people who just say that those were scripts? Somebody can sit down and script something for somebody to read, and does not mean that person will be able to deliver given the opportunity.
That if the person...
You said a delivery. And
Yeah.
I'm saying that it could be that somebody could say it was scripted and it was delivered perfectly.
If the person... I didn't see the lady as reading from anywhere.
The teleprompters were there.
Sorry?
The teleprompters were there.
It was still with her.
The teleprompters were there. You go ahead, make your point.
Okay. So whatever it was, the way she delivered could convince anybody that the person knows what she is talking about.
I'll come back to you because I said we're not done with that of the NPP. But I want you to have a bite at this very one. I mean, he says, well, it will be the best decision for the NDC. Do you agree with him? And aside from that, if you agree, will you say that Ghanaians are ready for a female president as well?
Yes, it is quite early for us as analysts to preempt something very concrete at this moment for the NDC. But I am pretty sure that the NDC going into the 2024 elections already had an eye on the next one, because the choice of a vice president came in prominently and should reflect what they should do going into the future. It's not about female or male. I think it's about performance. In terms of female and male, Ghanaians may want to experience a new thing. So that is a plus. If any political party has a very credible female candidate. So what is left for Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman to do is to be an impactful vice president. You know, honestly, Bawumia came out in 2016 as somebody who was very, very, very different from all the vice presidents we have had before him. He came in as the competent hand for the political party to drive it to correct the incompetencies, the seemingly and alleged incompetencies of the previous regime. So he came with a lot of credibility in terms of competence. So people were expecting him. So he virtually spearheaded the 2016 NPP victory. People were expecting those competent hands to reflect in the governance during Nana Addo's era, and it was not seen, and the government is punished. If Nana Jane wants a bite into leading the party, she must come out clearly, very explicitly, as a competent hand, not just a female, a competent hand. Let us see that because of her, Ghana have seen this progress. Other than that, I think the NDC has plans beyond just presenting a female candidate. There have been people, there are people who have had this ambition for more than a decade now, who have prepared themselves for more than a decade now for a transition from the Mahama to another candidate. So it will not be about a female president, it will be about competence.
So in a few minutes, let's wrap up on what I said earlier, because I mentioned I wanted us to take a look again at a few things about the NPP. And I asked you, Dr. Nyaba, that what should they be doing going forward? Yes, they have lost. But should they come back to the Ashanti region and engage with the electorate, maybe say sorry for some wrongs they did, and then make some assurances to the people here, knowing very well how key the Ashanti region is? Because again, if we read posts by, Eugene Boachi Entry, the Subing MP, that they lost the elections in 2022 thereabout. Because at the time when they were saying that the finance minister should go, the president was not listening, the president, blah, blah. You know the story. We know Kennedy Japan himself, when he was also trying to win the flag bearership, come on the things he said, and said they had also lost it some years ago and all that. How can they, as a party, unify themselves, become one, fix the cracks or differences that there might be going forward? How should they do this?
I think it is not merely coincidental that after every 8 years, there is a turnover. There is a kind of complacency that sets into every regime, especially after the first term, the first 4 years. And that is what has affected the NPP. I think sometimes it is only natural, by the way they behave, both the NDC and the NPP, that they get the opportunity to take a backstage. And if you look at the way NDC prepared for these elections, you will notice that they analyzed their 2020 fortunes, and they had a time because they were in opposition. They had a space because they were in opposition. They put their house together, took very major decisions, and then it brought them where they are now. This is an opportunity for the NPP, and it is good for all Ghanaians. That if you look at the trajectory, assuming they had another opportunity, I tell you, it would have been worse for the party and even Ghana as a whole. Okay. So it's a time that they should do a radical reorientation backstage, clean their house, think through their candidates for both parliamentary and then the presidential elections in the next one. And then, because Ghana needs a credible opposition, Ghana needs somebody who, a political party that is ready enough to take over the ranks of power when the ruling government is not doing well. So we hope that because they are not in government now, the seeming arrogance that characterized their second term will not be there, because they will be humbled by the results of these elections. They will go back to the...
Prof, we have to take a break, but I just want to give you 1 minute, and then we'll go on that break. So, Prof, the question for you is, our Constitution talks about the fact that, governance is a continuum. So if a particular government starts a project, you come and you continue it. The direct principle of state policy. There are some projects that this administration has begun. With this new government coming in, led by John Dramani Mahama, what are expectations on those? Because I'm asking this because within this region, they say one hospital has not still been commissioned, Afra has not been commissioned. There are some other projects that was begun by the previous administration that was not completed, was not commissioned. So in this administration that is coming, there are some other projects that have begun. What are your expectations of this government about those projects that have begun by the outgoing government?
All right, thank you very much. I think that listening to candidate Mahama, they have made it clear that they were coming to continue with most of these projects. They were not going to behave like in the past. When a new government take over, they forget about all the previous projects. But then also for free SHS, which has become one of the main contentious issues, I think they have also made it clear that they are not out here to cancel it. But then they will have to work out about the challenges. Free SHS really had a lot of challenges, which I think that they will have to work to fix. And then maybe they will leave, he will leave Ghana with a very good free SHS system, devoid of some of these challenges we've gone through.
All right, so we say a big thank you to you, Dr. Ali Nyamba. He's with the History and Political Studies Department, KNUST, for being with us since 4 a.m. Professor Martin Akote is a rector for the Valley View University. He is also a governance expert. Thanks very much for being with us as well since 4. To my co-anchor man, Eugene Osei-Tutu, who's still right here with me, I say thank you to you. And to our audience, thanks very much for making time with us. We're now taking a break. And if we get the opportunity, we'll come back to you with more, analysis here from Studio 995.